Sorry for getting here a little late, boys.
I'm gonna get my other glasses, but sunglasses not gonna work now.
Sorry I'm a little late, boys. I had a lot of stuff coming in very late this afternoon,
Boys,
and ladies.
You could get away with
My
guys.
apologies, Susan. Craig, where are you, Craig? Craig, there you are, Craig. My apologies, Craig. As you can see, I'm frazzled.
I guess so. It's not like you, Jim.
Usually you're cool as a cucumber, Jim.
Yeah. Well,
Mr. Chair,
yes, sir.
usually you're cool as a cucumber.
Well, thank you very much, sir. So I am going to make a motion that we open. Sir, first let's take a roll call vote. Mr. Grafton, can you confirm all the commissioners are here?
Yes, I see you. I see Art. I saw Craig. I saw Susan. I heard Art. I saw Joe, and I heard Bert. That's 7.
Okay, very good. I'd like to make a motion to open the meeting of March 16th, the Marshfield Conservation Commission. I'd look for a second for that.
second, Craig Hannafin.
Craig Hannafin, second. Bill. We'll take a roll call vote. I'm not quite ready to do roll call votes. If you could just pardon me for a minute.
Excuse me. Oh, it's that J&J vaccine. At least you like my jokes,
Mr.
Joe.
Craig.
Craig Hannafin here.
Yes, so, yes to open, right?
Yes.
Mr. Susan.
Yes. Susan Karen, yes.
Wait, Commissioner Joe.
Joe Ring, yes to open.
Commissioner Rick.
Rick Carber, yes.
Mr. Arthur.
Art Loggy, yes.
Vice Chair Burt.
Bert O'Donnell, yes.
Jim Kilcoyne is a yes. Okay, so we are officially open. I'd like to welcome a newest member of the Marshfield Conservation Commission here. Depending on where he is on your screen, he is in the blue shirt with the headphones on, Mr. Eric Flint. So,
Hey, Eric.
Welcome, Eric.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for having me. Happy to be here.
Very
we're
good.
very excited to have an addition to the commission. It's long needed with our workload. Eric's going to be a fantastic addition. I spent some time with him yesterday, and his skill sets are going to really help the team. So welcome again, Eric. With that, my chairman's address is going to be very brief this evening. I do want to just advise everybody that we still are operating under the three strikes out rule on the DWAPs. We're still under modified governor's emergency plan, and we will take roll call votes. We will also take some polls if necessary to get the feel for the commission. Please mute unless you are speaking. Remember to address all comments to the chair or the hearing officer. I do want to advise also that this Thursday at 6:30, March 18th, we will be having a public hearing for the draft 505 regulations of our bylaws. With that, we will move to the minutes. The 3/2/21 minutes, draft minutes have been submitted to the commission. Any comments from any commissioners? If not, I will move that we will take a vote to accept them. Okay, so I'd like to make a motion that we accept the draft minutes of 3/2/2021 of the Marshfield Conservation Commission. I'd look for a second.
Susan Karen, second.
Capture that, Bill?
Certainly, as written, Mr. Chairman.
As written. So we have our second, so we'll do a roll call vote. Commissioner Craig?
Craig Hannafin, yes.
Commissioner Susan?
Susan Karen, yes.
Commissioner Joe?
Joe Ring, yes.
Commissioner Rick?
Rick Carber, yes.
Commissioner Arthur? Sorry, Art, you muted. We just can't hear you. You're so far away in Florida.
Sorry about that. I never muted. Now I have down here. So yes, Art Loggy.
Yes. Okay. Vice Chair Burt?
Earl O'Donnell, yes.
Jim Kilcoyne is a yes, so we accepted the meetings of 3/2/2021 bill as written. Once again, Chairman's comments, I don't have any, I covered them briefly when we started. We'll move on to B1. This is Damon Point Road Restoration Plan. Mr. Rockwood, if I do see you, would you be kind enough to unmute, and if you have video, come up?
Hold on, let me pull him.
He's there. So.
Yeah, I see him. He just being, John, you got it? John, you good?
I'm good. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can see and hear you now, John.
Yes, sir.
John, so we're on B1 now, Damon's Point Road Restoration Plan. I wondered if you could give us a quick overview from your perspective of where we are and what we need to do from the third-party expert's perspective.
Okay, at the last meeting, I think was in sometime in January, the commission wanted Brad Holmes and myself to meet out on the site to go over sort of the criteria for what should be incorporated into an acceptable restoration plan for the violation on this site. We met at the site on a cold Friday morning and discussed the various issues, specifically the area to be considered as part of the restoration area, and plant materials, including sizes that should be considered within that plan. ECR provided a updated restoration plan about a week later, and that plan is a significant improvement over what was originally provided. However, the plant materials shown on the plan and listed in the pallets, the tables on the last page, they're somewhat vague. There's heights and whatever provided, but not for each particular species. So it's difficult to know exactly how many of what size are proposed. And in my opinion, the number of shrubs that were proposed was somewhat higher than is necessary. So I provided a memorandum on February 9th that provided my recommendations relative to modifying the ECR plan. And I included saplings of 2 sizes and less shrubs that are more robust of a slightly larger size. So the plan that was provided by ECR called for 28 saplings in the wetland, 8 of those 2 to 2.5 inches, 8 1 to 1.5 inches, and 12 5 to 6 feet in height. I don't think the 5 to 6 feet in height saplings are necessary. I prefer to concentrate the saplings as larger size saplings because several significant trees were cut down in the area that was altered. And we want to get the wetland and the buffer zone there moving back towards forest sooner rather than later. So I proposed a similar number of saplings, just of a larger size and less larger shrubs planted in clusters. So you'd have larger saplings planted relatively evenly over the altered wetland area and over the altered buffer zone area. The smaller saplings would be planted evenly, generally over that same area. And the shrub clusters there'd be shrub clusters of like 5 shrubs planted at intervals within both the wetland and the buffer zone. And I also provided a couple other suggestions relative to some of the language in the planting protocols. Since I provided that on February 9th, I've received nothing back relative to a revised plan that incorporates these or compromises with these relative to bringing the plant sizes larger. This is a fairly significant cut through the buffer zone and the wetland out to the North River, and it warrants a serious restoration plan with some significant plantings. And the 2 to 2.5 inch caliper larger saplings are large, but they're not so large that they can't be brought there and planted and be successful. So I think we have, if my planting table were placed on the ECR's plan sheet and the plant spaced appropriately, so we know where the 2 to 2.5 inch calipers are going, where the 1 to 1.5 inch calipers are going, where the 2 inch and 1 inch caliper saplings in the buffer zone are going, and generally where the wetland and buffer zone shrub clusters are going. I think would be in a pretty good position to approve a plan and move forward with this.
So what I heard from Mr. Rockwood is that the easiest path forward from your perspective is to take your planting recommendations and have Mr. Holmes overlay that on his plan.
Yes.
Okay. We could probably move forward with resolution and approval.
Okay, sounds good.
Yeah.
Good work, John, Brad. Good work. Okay. Our goal.
From the either Adam, Attorney Brodsky, sorry, Attorney Brodsky or Brad, would you like to speak regarding this project?
Thank you, Mr. Kilcoyne. This is Adam Brodsky, and I represent Ed O'Kane. And I'm here this evening with Brad Holmes, our professional wetland scientist. And I just want to remind the commission that Mr. O'Kane removed 8 trees within the BVW and other invasives. ECR's first restoration plan was developed consistent with other restoration plans for similar violations in the town. And I would just refer the commission to my December 14th, 2020 letter to town council, where we provided actually details regarding those 3 restoration projects, including one that was designed by Mr. Rockwood's firm Ecotech. ECR proposed its original restoration plan and is, as Mr. Rockwood said, 28 saplings and 63 shrubs. After that was reviewed by Ecotech, Ecotech recommended more and larger trees in particular. And in the spirit of compromise, ECR submitted a revised restoration plan that was something between what was originally proposed and what Ecotech was recommending. That's the plan that had 55 saplings and 150 shrubs. And I just want to point out that labor and material costs associated with that compromise plan was approximately $11,400. Importantly, those were all sized to be installed by hand with no machinery needed, because we didn't want to do anything and drive machinery in any of the wetland resource areas. Again, as Mr. Rockwood said, Mr. Holmes and Mr. Rockwood reviewed matters in the field. We actually thought we had reached agreement, but apparently not. Ecotech has made additional recommendations. They've actually increased the size of the trees of the saplings as well as the shrubs. They're of such a size that we're actually going to need to use machinery in the wetland areas. And more importantly, and Brad can speak to this specifically, the estimated labor and materials cost for that plan is $39,430. It's 3.5 times the cost of the ECR plan. And again, I just remind the commission that was a plan that was designed on other restoration plans previously approved by this commission. And Brad can speak to this. We suggest that there's no additional environmental benefit for the Ecotech plan. It simply costs significantly more money and is candidly punitive. And we think it's arbitrary and capricious based upon what this commission has previously approved for similar violations. So I just wanted to state Mr. O'Kane's position for the commission. And I don't know whether you want to add anything more to that.
Sure, I'd love to add some more to that. I'll be brief. I know the commission is looking to move on. The goal of the enforcement order issued by the Marshall Conservation Commission was that the area achieve 75% surface coverage in accordance with 10.53 as Bill listed in the enforcement order. The plan that we prepared would far exceed 75% plant density after planting. And actually you look for 75% plant density within 2 growing seasons. So we'd far exceed the requirement even at the time of planting. The plan that ECR has prepared is far and beyond what has been a typical restoration plan in any of the South Shore towns, and includes the discussions that I had on site with John Rockwood. We've increased the number of plantings and we've seriously increased the size of the plants. So, and it's going to be a big task to do what we're proposing to do, but we've thought it out and we think it's a good plan that is our plan to be implemented at the site.
Thank you, Mr. Holmes. So I guess the question I have for Attorney Brodsky is our third-party expert has recommended a path forward. Is that something you would like to do?
Mr. O'Kane is willing to reasonably compromise with the commission. We don't believe that Mr. Rockwood's recent proposal is a reasonable compromise. There's something more that we can do to help bridge the gap. I believe Mr. O'Kane is certainly willing to do that. And again, I have the utmost respect for Mr. Rockwood. We believe in this instance, his recommendations go too far.
So just so I understand, and Mr. Rockwood, if I misstate your position, please correct me. I think what Mr. Rockwood suggested, Attorney Brodsky, is that you would take his current planning plan and put it on Brad's plan so the commission can see that. That does not mean the commission will accept that plan. It just means we are able to see it on the plan. So that's what I think the commission has in front of them this evening. I do, for the record, want to make it known that Mr. O'Kane used heavy equipment and machinery to cut down these trees. So saying we have to bring equipment in to put new trees back in is probably I'm not sure. Also, the value on a restoration project, although that is important, everyone knows that, the commission does not take into consideration on these types of matters the value of the restoration. And I don't know how much you could place on the value of a 70 or 80-year-old trees. How much are they worth? They take decades to grow. So I don't know how much they're worth, but they're pretty important in this very critically environmental area. And lastly, the North River is the only river in the entire state of Massachusetts that is designated under a Scenic Protection Act. And this cutting vastly violated that, and that is up to the North River Commission if they want to bring other options up. We're just dealing with our issues. The North River is not that important to us with this right now, and has opened up and destroyed the scenic beauty of the river. So I don't know if the other restoration projects or enforcement projects that Mr. Rockwood prepared that we're citing as similar were on the only scenic river in the entire state of Massachusetts. So I think a more robust planting plan probably would be in order. So with that, I've finished my little statement. Would we like to move forward with that? Yes, Attorney Brodsky, I'm going to say that. Would you like to move forward with that, Attorney Brodsky, with putting Mr. Rockwood's plans on the plan so the commission can see it?
So, Mr. Chair, I just want to point out that the North River Commission indicated its approval of the revised plan that was submitted by ECR. So if the commission
we understand that.
Compliance, the North River Commission has approved that plan. Notwithstanding, it appears that the commission wants more.
Yes, that is. Bill. Thank you, sir. You have to be recognized by the chair, correct? Thank you. Thank you, Attorney Brodsky. Yes, we are aware of that, but what we're dealing with here tonight is an enforcement order by the Marshfield Conservation Commission. And we do take the fact that it is a scenic river very important in our decisions. The North River Commission makes their own decisions. So we want to move forward. Would Attorney Brodsky, would you like to accept Mr. Rockwood's proposal for the commission to be able to see his plan on Mr. Holmes' plan?
Mr. Chair, I'm not sure what that would accomplish. We have Mr. Holmes' plan. I think what Mr. Rockwood is simply saying is that if you substituted his planting table for ECR's planting table, that's what he's trying to accomplish. You have all of that information. So you have Mr. Rockwood's planting table, you have ECR's planting table. I don't think that it warrants any additional cost to submit revised plans in that regard.
Okay. Thank you, Attorney Brodsky. Mr. Rockwood, can you help the commission understand why, as our expert third party on this matter, that you would like to see that and how that would help the commission understand where the plants are, what type of plants there are, and where they are?
Okay, presently, the ECR plan identifies a palette of wetland plants and a palette of buffer zone plants. The saplings, the size varies for all the species. There's numbers provided, but the size varies. And then below the table, there's 8 that are a certain size, 8 that are another size, and 12 that are the smallest size. But the planting plan doesn't show where any of those particular size plants are going. You really want a plan that shows the 2 to 2.5 inch saplings are going in these particular areas. The middle-sized saplings are going in these areas, and the shrubs are going in these particular areas, both in the wetlands and in the uplands. If you don't know where the various plants are going, the larger plants could theoretically be tucked aside and smaller plants be left in the center of the area, providing not necessarily what the commission is looking for with regard to a restoration. Showing my planting tables on a plan, since I provided specific sizes for all of the specifics for all the listed species, you know exactly what is going where. The red maples are of a particular size. If you show a red maple symbol, you know you're getting a 2 to 2.5 inch caliper red maple. If you see an elm symbol, you know you're getting a 1 to 1.5 inch American elm. You know what you're getting where on the plan. That's sort of the rationale for it. And the other thing is, my planting table doesn't propose any planting that's any larger than the largest plants that ECR proposed. 2 to 2.5 inch are the same thing. So if equipment's needed to plant mine, equipment's needed to plant the ECR plant. So there's a little bit of a discrepancy there.
Thank you, Mr. Rockwood. So for the commissioners, we have to make a decision on what we want to do here. Do you feel you have enough information on why our third party's expert is requesting to have these plants specified on Mr. Holmes' plan? Do you have any questions for Mr. Rockwood or Attorney Brodsky to help you gain knowledge so we can make a decision and move forward this evening?
Well, this is Rick. I think knowing where the plants are going to be going is a pretty important aspect of this restoration, isn't it?
I'd love to answer that for you, Rick, if the commission would like.
Why would we have a planting plan, Brad, that doesn't show where the plants are going to go?
So what you have is a list of species.
Mr. Holmes, right now, this is a business session, so.
I thought he asked me a question. I'm sorry, Mr. Kilcoyne.
That's all right. That's all right. I just want to, I do understand that confusion, but I do want to stay right now. I think it was an open-ended rhetorical. I want to stay towards the commissioners right now and hear commissioners' thoughts and comments so we can get a feel for the commission.
I agree with Rick. I think that's right.
What is right, Mr. Arthur?
Well, we need to know what plants are going where.
All right.
I'm in agreement with that. I want to see the plant placement.
Okay. Commissioner Susan? Are you muted, Susan?
Muted, Susan.
Sorry. Well, I agree with with our need to see exactly that. That is a plan, is seeing where things are going. That would seem to make sense to me as well.
All right, thank you for your comments. Commissioner Ring?
I think you could use your imagination because the description that is put in John's document is reasonably good, but I would not object to a better described plan or a visual plan. Let me correct that.
Okay. All right. So we've heard from Mr. Holmes. We've heard from Attorney Brodsky. We've heard from John Rockwood. We've heard from all the commissioners except for Vice Chair Burt. Now I'd like, Burt, if you could give us your thoughts as well.
Yeah, I thought the purpose of the meeting in the field, along with Bill Grafton, was to reach a compromise on this. And I would like to briefly hear from Bill if the plan that Brad presented was the compromise or not.
Okay.
Okay, let me
Mr.
know when I
Grafton,
can.
would you help us out from your perspective?
Okay, I'm gonna count 3 and see if I can get in. 1, 2, 3. Am I clear? Okay, so I told the scientists I wanted them to work together and come up with a scientific plan. I then looked at the area that's open that you see on the plan, and I said I would like to see something additionally in there. Okay, and I thought I talked them into doing additional work in that area, something with smaller plants, something with herbaceous, etc. And I think John was leaning towards that, but he didn't want the whole thing done. That's fine. That's good. Brad was a little resistant on that. That's fine. That's good. I wanted that worked out. So I want the commission to know that I thought that trapezoidal area should also get some attention because it's clearly been cut. Brad did come up with the idea of putting the conservation markers down. Thank you. There are 4 of them. I'm with John. We need a clear plan. We're experiencing way too many mitigations and restoration replications where we don't get the quantitative information clearly delineated on plans with size, quantity, common name, botanical name, symbols. And then we come back later and we hear things like, okay, no delivery at the nursery. We hear things like, yeah, we only could get this size, etc. So those are really important variables that need to get on there. And I think if we can just get John's overlay onto Brad's plan, it will give us what we need. And then this is done. It's just ready to go. I talked to Mr. O'Kane in the field. We were very close. I don't know why we're even arguing it. I thought this thing was going to coalesce in a very positive way, and it seems like it's doing that right now. I wanted to say earlier.
That's what I thought, Bill. Thank you.
One last thing. Attorney Brodsky mentioned trees, and Jim had talked about cost. I heard somebody else who was in the scientific side of the equation say those large trees go on the order of $100,000. I'm not saying that's exactly right or not. I don't know if you can buy a tree like that, but that's something to take into equation as a commissioner. And I used to sit in Hingham and Norwell, and I would have thought about that very seriously while I was making my decision on anything. That's all I can say to the decision makers. I'm checking out.
So I think we've heard from everybody now at least once or twice. Out of professional courtesy, I will let Attorney Brodsky have the last word before we go to the commission for a poll for action forward.
Thank you, Mr. Colcoin. I think it would be helpful to have Mr. Holmes speak to the specifics of the plan, but if the issue is just providing more detail regarding the location of plants, I'm pretty sure we can accommodate the commission. The problem is we don't have agreement regarding the mix and sizes of plants, and that's the fundamental problem, which is what is being asked far exceeds what has been asked previously. So again, we're here to reach a compromise if we can. If it's simply updating Mr. Holmes' plan to better articulate where we're planting what we're proposing to do, I believe that Mr. O'Kane's willing to do that. But it's the additional material and additional costs associated with our Ecotech's recommendations that are the problem. And I can ask Brad to answer any questions you may have regarding that.
So am I hearing that you are willing to take Mr. Rockwood's and have Brad put it on his plan?
Mr. Chair, maybe it's my misunderstanding. There are two issues here. One are the plant selections, the numbers, the sizes, the types. I believe that's what you're referring to with respect to the Ecotech tables. The other issue that was expressed is whether the planting plan that ECR prepared is specific enough, where we're going to particularly locate the plants that we're proposing. I understand there'd be two different issues. Again, if the commission wants more specificity regarding where ECR is planting things, and I believe that the plans were fairly specific, I think that's something we can accommodate. I can't speak for Mr. O'Kane other than to say that he's not in agreement with respect to the materials list that are being proposed by Ecotech here.
All right, thank you. So I'm going to take that as a no. Because it seems like we're not at the point where we will take Mr. Rockwood's plan and put it on the plan because there are other issues that seem to be brought up. So quickly from the commissioners, are you able to, I'll do a roll call quick one. Are you able to make a decision this evening based upon what you see in front of you that you can make a good educated decision? Or would you prefer to see Mr. Rockwood's plan on the plan? It could be modified after that. Or if Mr. Holmes wants to meet with Mr. Rockwood and develop something that would be a one and done, that's great too. It seems like Mr. Rockwood, our expert, is suggesting one plan. That's why we hired him. And the advocates for the applicant who have an enforcement order are advocating for a lesser plan. I understand both those perspectives. So Commissioner Craig, what path would you like to take this evening?
I would like to see Mr. Rockwood's plan coordinated with Mr. Holmes' plan.
Thank you. Commissioner Susan?
I would like to see a plan that will reflect what's done in the field.
Commissioner Ring?
I would like to see the plan. If need be, I would have no problems moving forward with a decision.
Commissioner Arthur?
I would like to see the Rockwood plan put in place with the Holmes plan.
Commissioner Rick?
Commissioner Rick would like to see a compromised plan that includes some of the suggestions that Mr. Rockwood has provided with the spatiality of the Holmes plan, so we can see how all that would lay out in the field.
Vice Chair Burt?
Yeah, I think I agree with what Rick just said.
So what I'm hearing from the commission, if we took a vote, the vote would be that we want to see Mr. Rockwood's plans overlaid on Brad Holmes. I don't know from a third-party funding perspective if there still are funds to accommodate Mr. Rockwood's further work for a compromise. Does anyone know that?
I can talk to it if I'm allowed to talk to it.
Please do, Mr. Grafton.
John, are you comfortable with me talking about it?
Yes, I am.
He's at the wall right now.
Okay.
He's actually put in a little extra time.
Okay, so I'm just trying to encapsulate what I think the vote would be on an enforcement order and what the commission would want. Of course, it always has the opportunity to take different paths if they disagree with us.
Mr. Chairman, may I ask you a question, sir? I have an issue with what the commission has requested. You're asking ECR to take Ecotech's plan and put it on ECR's design and get it back to the commission. That's not, so therefore it's coming from ECR, but it's not ECR's design. That's what I'm hearing from the commission is what you're asking. And I'm not sure if I'm comfortable with that because it's not my design.
Okay. So trying to figure out a way to make this work without having the commission saying, this is what we're ordering. So what I see two intractable sides here. I heard two commissioners kind of say they definitely would like Mr. Holmes and Mr. Rockwood to get together, maybe find something in the middle that Mr. Holmes can say is his plan as much as Mr. Rockwood's plan, but he's comfortable putting forward to us as his plan so we can resolve this for Mr. O'Kane. But if we're not able to do that, then the commission can just make the decisions, and we already have the poll on what the commission wants. Attorney Brodsky, can you help us resolve this?
Mr. Chairman, I'm happy to speak with Mr. O'Kane and Mr. Holmes and see if there's another way that we can resolve this.
It would be great. I think you're hearing the flavor of the commission. They see both. They see that maybe the plants aren't really where they want them to be. I don't think they're all totally fixated on the exact. It's as much placement and species as anything else. I think that maybe there's a hybrid between the two, Attorney Brodsky, that we can resolve this for both parties, lessen the expense for Mr. O'Kane, and just, you know, move forward here for the applicant or the person under enforcement and the commission as well. Because we've been at this for quite a while now.
Yes, sir. Again, I don't think there's any problem with providing more specificity regarding locations. We just need to reach agreement regarding the materials.
Yeah, I think the commission does want that. We look at both sides, but we hired an expert, and Mr. Rockwood is an expert, to provide us guidance. It doesn't mean we take all of it, but he's going to have an immensely strong weight on our decision on what his recommendations are. So if Mr. Holmes and Mr. Rockwood could get together and provide us maybe that particular plan, we could be done. We do have a problem that Mr. Rockwood can't work for free. So I know it's up to Mr. O'Kane, Attorney Brodsky, but it would be great if he could just fund that final thing, and I think we could be done.
Again, Mr. Chair, I'll speak with Mr. O'Kane outside of the public hearing process.
Okay, that's very, very fair. So let's, in the spirit of this, let's try to come to this compromise. I think you've heard from each commissioner, you know where the commission wants to go, give you a better feel on how we'd vote on this. And so we're just going to move along on this then, unless there's any vast opposition from any of the commissioners. Allow Attorney Brodsky to speak to Mr. O'Kane, maybe get some funding so Mr. Rockwood and Mr. Holmes can work together, present us a hybrid that we can accept, and that Mr. Holmes can put on his plan with his company's name on it. Thank everybody this evening for, yes, Mr. Grafton.
Just one concluding thing, Mr. O'Kane, I think we're really close. I told you that in the field. If we could just get these guys to work together, you move forward. Okay, we know your will is there. I got that in the field. Thank you.
Yeah, exactly. So with that, thank you everyone for your participation this evening, and we'll move on to B2. Mr. Adam Brodsky, Attorney Brodsky, would you have a timeline when you'd like to come back?
When is your next meeting, Mr. Chairman?
April 6th. And then
I'll consult with Mr. Holmes, but I see no reason why you couldn't put this on your next meeting.
I'll do it right now.
Mr. Rock, would that work for you with your agenda if you're able to get funding?
That's fine. I think the first step here is, for Brad to just come up with a table that specifically lists the sizes of the material and compromises a little bit more relative to increasing the sizes of some of the materials.
Okay.
But just
not a problem. We already have all the species and everything listed. We can give you some more specificity. And as far as a compromise, I think you and I can work together towards a compromise. That'd be great.
That would be.
I noticed this in the field too, gentlemen. I'd like to see it done.
Gentlemen and ladies, we'll move on to B2. B2 is Phillips Farm, Wildlands Trust. Bill, you want to give a quick thing on this?
Yeah, I got a guy here. He can actually do a better job. His name is Owen. Give him a couple minutes and he could do the job for us.
Who is that?
He's with Wildlands Trust. He'll announce him.
Great. Mr. Gray.
Hello. You guys hear me?
Absolutely. Can you hear us?
Great. Yeah, great.
Carry on.
Okay, so like Bill said, I'm from Wildlands Trust. We own Phillips Farm, which is located at Highland Street. It is across from Cornhill Woodland, owned by the town, and serves as a connector to the Nelson Memorial Forest, owned by New England Forestry Foundation. It's a heavily used hiking trail, so we've gotten a lot of complaints about a certain section on it where it gets seasonally pretty wet, and we are looking to install a 100-foot section of bog boards. They're pretty simple structures. They're just 4x10 pressure treated boards laid on top of 6x6 posts, and they're portable, so we're able to remove them from the site if we need to. So just looking to see what permitting we would need, or what we need to do to move forward with it.
Great, thank you very much. So commissioners, I make a motion that we consider this as a de minimis activity unless I hear an objection from others. I'll move forward with a vote.
Jim, I am Bert here. I'm absolutely
Yes, sir.
fine with this, but I believe like the exercise path down at the Governor Winslow School, I believe in cases like this, we should have a sketch and a write-up identifying what's being done so that, in case it doesn't change in the future. And I'm fine on voting on this now. I'm fine with it moving forward, but I'd just like to have that submitted to Bill for his records.
It actually was, Bert. I might have got it out to you late. I thought I'd gotten it to you weeks ago. They did a wonderful job doing exactly that. It's a small wetland at the front end. It runs parallel with Union Street. I totally apologize to the commissioners, and I apologize to Wildlands Trust for not getting that out sooner. That is on me. If I were a sitting commissioner, I'd have no issues with this based on what I'm looking at. It is low impact. Wampatuck does the same kind of thing.
We're ready to go, Bill.
There you go.
So, so the only objection was from the vice chair for a drawing. The administrator said that he apologized for not providing the drawing to the commission to consider for this evening. So I will make the same motion. I would like to make a motion. This is de minimis activity unless we hear an objection from any others.
Second, Bert O'Donnell.
Did I have a second, Mr. O'Donnell?
Yes.
Thank you. Do a roll call vote. Commissioner Craig.
Craig Hannafin, yes.
Commissioner Susan.
Susan Karen, yes.
Commissioner Joe.
Joe Ring, yes.
Commissioner Rick.
Rick Carberry, yes.
Commissioner Arthur.
Art Loggy, yes.
Vice Chair Burt.
Bert O'Donnell, yes.
Jim Kilcoyne is a yes. Okay, you're great, Greg. Just work that out with Bill if you would.
Great, thank you very much.
Sorry,
Yeah,
Mr. Gray.
it was posted. Thank you all, and you say hi to Eric for me.
All right, thank you, Bill.
Thank you. All right, so B3 now, this is amended Sherman States conditions. I assume we're going to have Mr. Morse and Attorney Driscoll with us. There's Mr. Morse. I see you are muted, Greg. Bill, would you like to go first, or would you like to go after Mr. Morse?
I'll go first. I had
Okay.
I had a couple deliverables to a lot of people, and I couldn't get quite to them. Art and I met with Paul and Greg on March 9th to discuss outstanding conditions and size them up as mid, short, long term. We achieved that goal. I had a task that I couldn't get to, which was to basically clearly define them as short, mid, and long term goals. I've done that subsequently. There is there are several things that have come up through this process that look like they're complete, ready to move forward. And I'd just like to just maybe go rapidly through them. We talked about special condition H, which had to do with maintaining the streets. Paul said he would do street sweepings. We can get a schedule together to the satisfaction of the commission. I would recommend it starts in the first week of April. Greg Morris and I were to get together on all erosion control and stormwater oriented vegetation, which would be grass, seeding, these kind of things. That was special condition D, E, sorry about that, D, F, and I. There was a question about plantings around lots 10 and 11 with regards to native plantings. Paul Driscoll noted that he no longer owns those properties, so that would be difficult for him. So the commission needs to determine whether Paul or the Lot 10 and Lot 11 owners, or all three of them, need to deal with that special condition. There was a signage plan that was pulled together to resolve some of the issues with regards to the 50-foot conservation markers and the planning board's water resource protection district signage. Greg has achieved that, put that together. One note, Greg, we did not get the Lot 11 markers, which are on the River Park plan that I gave you. So pending the commission's position, we may want those. Excuse me. Long term, we were looking at special condition J. I can't, skipping me right now. Give me a moment, I'll review. That is no chemicals, herbicides, etc. It's a long-term issue. We'll just make that part of the ongoing condition so that it's pertinent to all properties. Another long-term item was K, and K was the natural heritage questions. And what we boiled that down to was several things. One, natural heritage took the property out of out of the no take. They took the whole area out later, but there's a special condition there that I thought was important, and Art thought was important, a conservation restriction on the two open space properties. It was referenced to us that that was part of the planning board. And it turns out that the planning board has some extensive language, legal documents and decisions and a mechanism to achieve that. And in paraphrasing, we'll try to be brief. It's basically to be turned over to the Conservation Commission under their care and custody through documentation that should go to town council. There was further some language in the planning board documentation, which is not us, about a contribution we made to the Concom. We'll let that resolve itself. I don't know much about that one. Just came up in the conversation. So that is essentially the gist of what we're working on. And I thought all things would be reasonably resolved if we could have short-term goals achieved within 60 days, midterm goals within 180, and say long-term goals in 360, because Paul thought he was going to be able to sell all of his lots by, 18 months or so, something along those lines. That's it in a nutshell. This complicated situation whittles down to spreadsheets and decisions, and then also coordinating with other departments that have already established pathways.
Thank you, Mr. Grafton. Mr. Morris. You're muted, Greg. Whoop, and we lost your audio too. Video too.
Yeah. I concur with everything that Mr. Grafton just said. There are some outstanding administrative issues as far as recording CRs on some of the open spaces. There's plantings that need to be done on lot 10 and 11. We're aware of those issues, and those are all to be done. I outlined those to you in the December 4th letter that I sent to the commission. And again, we've posted cash bond that those issues that are outstanding will be done. But I provided the revised signage plan. It documents the signage that's required, not only for the subdivision, but there's been a couple of additional orders of conditions on individual lots where you've required markers. Apparently, there's a couple markers missing on lot 11. That is not one I was personally involved in, but I'm glad to add those markers if that's required. It's not a requirement of Mr. Driscoll's NOI, but for an overall document, I'm glad to add them. I think one of the big items, I'm not sure if it was on the agenda for later, if it was to be discussed at this time too, was the request that we had sent in back in December for an extension on the order of conditions here.
Yes, that's next, Greg. That's next, Greg.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, so it's separate. I do remember standing out there with you, Greg, in January with, I think, almost the entire commission freezing and Attorney Driscoll as well. I'm a little frustrated. We can't seem to get a firm schedule of when things are going to be completed so we can move along. It's here we are in March. I know it's more complicated than probably I envisioned to try to get it done, especially in the winter and things like that. But I think we really need to get a schedule and stay on a schedule. And I'm not saying you're not trying, but I think that's an important objective we really need to achieve on this. I do have a question because it came up when we were there, and I am not an attorney, so we may need counsel advice on this. But we have a planning plan and different orders of conditions for the subdivision. Mm-hmm. And subsequent to that, if I understand this right, and I'll refer to yours and Attorney Driscoll's knowledge in this, the lots have been sold to individual owners, which now makes it difficult for Attorney Driscoll to conduct the work that was required in the order of conditions for the subdivision, because now it's a private property. I don't think the commission has a desire to start chasing 10 different lots or 6 different lots, try to achieve the orders of conditions on the subdivision. I understand that it is now in private property, but I don't see any way, and as I said, I do have to speak to town council on this, on how we would be able to issue a certificate of compliance until the entire orders of conditions, including planning plans, are met, although now they seem to be on private property. So I would really try for us not to have to go down that road. Both parties work together with the applicants, Greg, if we could, to get them to do their planning plans. We want to get your bond back to you. We want to give you a certificate of compliance, but I don't think we're going to be able to until all the conditions are met. So I'll just leave it with that. So Bill, you wanted to take a vote this evening to set a schedule that's acceptable to the commission to assure the completion of the special conditions before we do any more extensions. Am I correct on this?
Yeah, I think so. I think that it's important that we've gone over this process, broken out into digestible, achievable goals, and then we provide at least some kind of a extension tonight. They're too close to the April date. The next, I think the date is April 7th.
No, I don't want to talk about the extension. I want to talk about exactly what this business session is for. That this is B3, and the reason why we're discussing B3 is to vote to set a schedule acceptable to the commission to ensure completion of special conditions before any more extensions are granted. Correct? That's what we're discussing in B3.
Correct. I think the short-term goals should be taking place in 60 days. That would be the sweeping of the street. It's 60 or less days, whatever, within 60. But that's all the erosion control oriented things that Greg and I need to talk about. And then the signage plan. If you want that updated, we'll have that. Okay. The last thing would be, sure, once you have the signage plan, do you want the fencing posted? Because we're going to start bumping into all these property right issues all over the place with regards to the Concom conservation markers and the Water Resource Protection District signage, which is on 2 separate types of posting versus fencing. So I see that as happening in 60 days being very important. The midterm is the plantings, and that one we need some legal advice. Mr. Driscoll's a lawyer, so he can engage on that from his side. Long term, I think that conservation restriction, I'd like to see it done sooner rather than later, but it's built into the planning board. We just need to get it done. These things hang for a while, and I think the commission should set a deadline on it.
So,
may I be heard, sir?
Yes, 1 second, if you would, Attorney Driscoll.
Sure,
yes.
thank you.
You will be. So, what schedule is the commission supposed to consider this evening in front of us, Mr. Grafton? I don't see a schedule.
I know, I sent it to you later.
We're opining about a schedule. We're
Okay.
opining about things that we talked about in January. We're opining about things we need to have done, but I don't see a schedule for us to consider. I don't see a schedule with deadlines. We're just talking. So we're having a meeting to talking about scheduling a meeting for the schedule?
No. I provided spreadsheets in the field the day of the freezing day. It's that spreadsheet which outlines the special conditions for both the original orders and the amended orders.
All right, let me ask a question. Okay, thank you, Mr. Grafton. Commissioners, do you feel you have a schedule that you can, in front of you, that you understand, that you can vote as on B3 this evening to set a schedule acceptable to the commission to ensure the completion of special conditions before any extensions will be allowed? Commissioner Craig?
Craig Hannafin, no.
Commissioner Susan?
No. Susan Karen, no.
Commissioner Arthur?
Arlogi, no, I did, can I make one comment, Jim? I
You
know
may,
we're in the
you may,
voting.
you may, Arthur.
I do agree with the significant amount of time we've all put in on this thing, that these short, medium-term and long-term goals are important to do to wrap this thing up, but I think we have to see those.
Thank you, Commissioner Arthur. Commissioner Rick?
No.
Am I missing any? Commissioner Joe, you moved around on the screen on me.
Sorry, I didn't move on purpose. No.
Vice Chair Burrett?
No.
Okay, so we don't have the information in front of us for the commission to make a decision of what's on the schedule this evening. So we're not able to vote on that. So that's the end of B3. I would like to go out now because Attorney Driscoll would like to have
Yes.
some comments.
Yes, Mr. Commissioner, thank you. I know I put a lot of time into this. I know Greg Morse has, I know Bill has. I don't mean to suggest whose fault it is that you don't have the dates or the details in front of you. But I can tell you from my point of view, we put a lot of time into this and much of it is within Greg's knowledge and Bill's knowledge and not mine. But let me address a couple of legal things. Number one, this issue of the natural heritage keeps coming up. Well before they decertified this property, they gave me a no-take, and that no-take letter was from the chairman of Natural Heritage, and it has been submitted at least once, maybe twice, to the Conservation Commission. So this issue of the no-take, the issue of the natural heritage is a moot issue. And then thereafter, months thereafter, they decertified the land. So there's 2 ways from Sunday that issue has been eliminated. With respect to the extension, I just want to, I mentioned it before, but I want to tell everybody what the status is out there. There have been 4 lots conveyed that have not yet been built upon. There is a 5th lot to be conveyed in early April. And so if we allowed even a reasonable time of a year or so for those houses to be complete, some of these long-term things that are to be done certainly aren't going to be done in the foreseeable future, that is within a year. So I don't mean to get ahead of myself on the extension issue, but you can see how the condition of the property and the condition of the ownership bears on that. With respect to 10 and 11, that's where the fence is supposed to be. I have conveyed 10 and I have conveyed 11. Neither party has cut trees on their lot, except on 11, they were cut sufficient to put a foundation in. The wetlands are in the front. When I convey the ownership of those lots to individuals, I convey to them all the rights and all the liabilities that go with it. And I don't mean to be facetious to say, if the oil was discovered on the land the day after I conveyed it, they own the oil. And if there's an obligation, which they were apprised of at the time I conveyed it to them with respect to the fencing, they own that obligation. I can't go on there and cut trees. I don't know what trees they want cut. I can't go on there and put fence around the wetlands on there. So when Mr. Grafton raises that legal issue, he's right to raise it. But to me, it's absolutely clear and almost undebatable that the obligation passes to the owners of 10 and 11 with respect to what's going to happen in that area of isolated wetlands. So those are the things that I wanted to say. And the rest of it, I'm really leaving to Bill and Greg. I think that there was a tremendous amount of work done, whether it is before the commission or not tonight. I just can't address that.
So,
Thank
Chairman,
you,
please.
Thank you, Attorney Driscoll. I was myself, Attorney Driscoll, that brought up the legal question because I am not an attorney, so I don't know that answer. And I
Yeah.
want to make sure that the commission or you gets caught in that trap, is what I'm saying.
Sure.
It is what it is, but I guarantee you the commission does not want to start chasing 10 different lots after it's been conveyed when it was the original subdivision. That's all I was trying to bring up there.
Yeah, the fencing's only 10 and 11.
Okay, but
Well,
Yeah,
no, that's quite right.
So we have on the agenda, now that we've spent 15 minutes on, a discussion that we don't have the information to make a decision on. Mr. Morse, can
Yeah.
you get to us by the next meeting, a schedule of what's going to be done what, by what time, so we can look at it and say good or not? Is that possible? I know you, Attorney Grafton, and the commission has spent a tremendous amount of time on it.
Yes, that is possible.
All right. All right, let me rephrase that. Can that be done?
Yes, I wasn't aware that I was tasked with that prior to
You
tonight.
weren't, Greg. You weren't.
It's okay, Greg. I'm not saying you were. I'm just saying, let's get it done, right? Let's get it.
Absolutely.
Grafton, Attorney Grafton. Mr. Grafton, can you work with Mr. Morse and or Attorney Driscoll? So we have something in front of us that we can look at with firm dates so we know when we consider the extension, what we're going to do?
Thought part of the presentation was going to be adequate. I tried to pull together some generic stuff. I'm going to give that to Greg. He and I are going to create the schedule that you can vote on at the next meeting.
Yeah, we can't vote on just words. We don't know what we're voting on. We have to see what we're voting on. All
Yeah,
right.
right.
So when is the extension up, Mr. Grafton?
Like April 7th. I think you owe it to them at this stage with all
Mr.
the.
Grafton, it's not I didn't ask for your opinion at this point.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Grafton. When is our next meeting?
The 6th of April.
And their extension is up on the 7th?
Yeah, we'll make it.
Okay, so we'll move forward. Mr. Morse, thank you very much. If you'd work with Mr. Grafton, put something with firm timelines in front of us so we can help Attorney Driscoll's project move forward. Commission feels comfortable what's being done on specific timelines. Great, for the 6th. All right, so we'll move on now to B4, which is the extension request. I think we'll sort of intertwine this, commissioners, with the previous discussion. Attorney Grafton, our last extension was how long?
I've been promoted. So
I keep on calling you attorney, Mr. Grafton.
Yeah. Thank you. I feel better. So let's see, and not a negative way of attorneys. That's my name. Long story short, it was 6 months.
6 months.
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman. It turned out to be 4.5. It was applied for by the time it was granted, between the date it was granted and April 6th, not to quibble, but it turned out to be 4.5.
Okay, but we officially granted 6 is what you're saying.
By the time you granted it, there was only 4.5 months left.
Okay, I got you. We're going to do better this time, I promise you. Attorney Driscoll.
Thank you very much, sir.
So Commission, I'll just go quickly and ask you your month that you want for an extension or no extension, okay? Attorney Craig.
6-month extension, is that adequate?
You can request give any extension you want, and they can get another extension. If you feel that you need to have these schedules and things like that with a little heat to them, you can put any month you want. 3 years, 6 months.
Without the schedule, it's a little problematic. I would say a year.
So you would be willing to do a year extension?
Yes.
Okay, it's Commissioner Susan.
I would agree with a year as well.
Commissioner Ring.
3 months pending resolution of the schedule.
Okay, Commissioner Arthur.
I'm a sort of a 6-month person on this one.
Okay, Commissioner Rick.
12 months.
All right, who am I going? Vice Chair Burt.
12 months.
12 months. Okay, so it looks like the 12 months will carry. I would have gone with 6, so we will take a vote to extend for 12 months for John Sherman Estates. I would like to have a second for that.
Second.
Ring, a second.
It was Joe. I think we'll give it to Joe. Craig got one earlier, I think. All right, so we'll take a roll call vote. Commissioner Craig,
Craig Hannafin, yes.
Commissioner Susan,
Susan Karen, yes.
Commissioner Joe,
Joe Ring, yes.
Commissioner Rick,
Rick Carberry, yes.
Commissioner Arthur,
Art Loggy, yes.
Vice Chair Burt,
Bert O'Donnell, yes.
Jim Kilcoyne, yes. Okay, so we have a 12-month extension. Mr. Driscoll, that should make you happy.
It makes me very happy, and I thank you very much.
You're very welcome. So Greg, please work and Attorney Grissom with Bill and get that schedule in front of us so we can get that moving.
Will do.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
All right.
On to B5 land donation.
Excuse me, Jim.
Yes, Vice Chair.
B4, it also says 0 Main Street. Bill, are we speaking on that tonight?
No, that's a clerical area. I've been a little overworked, so.
Okay, fine.
Clerical areas.
Got it.
Good touch, Brett. So B5, Bill, do we have someone to speak on this? Are you going to give us a little
It would be
background?
me. No, it's just me.
Go.
Okay, so Michael Moresco reached out to town officials about this property, parcel G120701. It's a vacant lot. It's on the corner of Norwich Street and Essex Avenue in Marshfield Center. It's about 5,000 square feet. There are many small lots like this owned by the town conservation lands under Concom care and custody. I had been asked if we'd be interested in, I said yes, and it was starting to advance, and I suggested maybe we get this in front of the commission to see if it's interested, and Michael was insistent that we do this so that we get this cleared with the commission. So here it is. It seems to me a fit. It seems to me appropriate, and I would recommend voting to accept it. There were $3,000 of taxes outstanding that the treasurer will be working on. And provided there's interest by the Concom, the taxes are cleared and they get a clear deed, it would be a transferred donation, perhaps in short order through the town council.
I would like to make a motion to accept this land on behalf for the Conservation Commission. Unless I hear an objection, I'll move forward for a second.
I just have a question, Bill. I get this late, but does this abut other conservation land?
Yeah, I was just saying that there's a lot of little lots, and
so it does abut. Okay, fine.
They're along Utah, et cetera. Bert, I don't know how you know Marshfield Center over there, but they're loaded lots, like all undeveloped.
I know it very well. I know exactly what you're talking about. I'm just not sure if it was abutting other. If it's abutting other conservation land, I think it's a no-brainer. It's a yes.
Right. It's a lot like the one in Genevieve I brought up in the back.
Okay, all right, we'll go then. So without objection then I would like to make a motion that we accept this land. I'll look for a second.
Second, Rick Carberry.
Thank you, Rick.
Welcome.
Roll call vote, Commissioner Craig.
Craig Hannafin, yes.
Commissioner Susan.
Susan Karen, yes.
Commissioner Joe.
Joe Ring, yes.
Mr. Rick.
Rick Carberry, yes.
Commissioner Arthur.
Art Loggy, yes.
Commissioner Vice Chair Burt.
Bert O'Donnell, yes.
Jim Kilcoyne's a yes. Okay, so we accept it, Bill, okay?
Very good.
Move on to B6. Adelaide, Webster subdivision footpath, diminished activity conservation permit. I see we have Mr. Gibbs. I swear is Terry. I see we have Mr. McGovern. Okay. Arthur? Arthur?
Yes.
Would you give a 30-second little review of this and wait, because you've got your head into a lot more than the other commissioners, and give the commission a recommendation?
Yes. So we, Bill and I and Terry and Greg were out at the site recently and did spend some considerable time there, as we have in the past as well. And I think we came to an agreement of where the road would be, the driveway down the hill, and where the footpath would connect to the cart path, and that our understanding was that it was going to be as you're going down the hill to the left of that drive. And that's what we had agreed upon, and I thought that's was what was going to happen. And my understanding is now that is what's going to happen. So, Bill, Greg, Terry, that's correct?
Arthur, do you want me to put the sketch plan up real quick?
No.
I think all we need, I think the thing is after that, then there was some discussion on whether or not this path would cross the road twice.
No, that's not right.
Nope, not gonna.
Okay, well, Jim, can I take a chance at this?
In the spirit of moving forward, Arthur, you're okay with it as drawn?
Yes, yes.
Commissioner Craig, does any other commissioner have an object to ratifying this as a de minimis activity, the deviations associated with the proposed footpath location that is consistent with the planning board, ANR, and the kiosk trail signage? Without objection, I would like to make a motion that we accept this as a de minimis activity. And I would like a second.
Second.
Art Loggy, second.
I got Art.
Okay, Art's got the second. Thank you, Arthur. We'll do a roll call vote. Commissioner Craig.
Craig Hannafin, yes.
Commissioner Susan.
Susan Karen, yes.
Mr. Joe.
Joe Ring, yes.
Mr. Rick.
Rick Carber, yes.
Mr. Arthur.
Art Loggy, yes.
Vice Chair Burt.
Bert O'Donnell, yes.
Jim Kilcoyne's a yes. There you go, Terry. See, we didn't have to put the drawing up.
Nice work, Terry. Outstanding, Greg. Well
That
done.
worked for you, Greg?
Off a special
Yes,
condition.
thank you.
Nice
You're
job.
welcome, Greg. All right.
Done.
We're moving past the footpath. Thank you, Mr. Gibbs. So we're going to move now to B7232 Oak Street, Lucetti. This is a sorry, my phone's ringing. Resolution letter. So
yeah,
back in 2015, Jay Winnemer put an enforcement order on Mr. Lucetti for altering the bordering vegetated wetlands, the buffer zone, while building his home on 132 Oak Street. Administrator Grafton has confirmed the plantings are intact. The work is done and approved as completed as approved. And Mr. Grafton is making a suggestion to the commission to thank Mr. Lucetti for the work he has done in meeting this enforcement order and attention to the restoration, and would like to issue a dissolution letter from the 2015 enforcement order. Without objections, I would like to vote to ratify an issuance of a dissolution letter closing out the 2015 enforcement that has been completed without objection. We'll move forward for a second. I'd like a second on that motion, please.
Second, Bert O'Donnell.
Bert.
We'll do a roll call vote. Commissioner Craig.
Craig Hannafin, yes.
Commissioner Susan.
Susan Karen, yes.
Mr. Joe.
Joe Ring, yes.
Mr. Rick.
Rick Carber, yes.
Mr. Arthur.
Art Loggy, yes.
Vice Chair Burt.
Bert O'Donnell, yes.
Jim Kilcoyne is a yes.
Mr. Chairman, real quick.
Yes,
would
sir.
like to thank Eric Flint for helping me out. I was very busy. He's been taking the weight off already. This letter would not have been prepared in time had his quick work not been done to pull the file, get this thing started. He went in on his second day, found a dissolution letter, and got a prep document for me. It made it really easy for me. Eric, thank you.
Good job, Eric.
Excellent. Good job, Eric. So we're going to be moving out of my fund section into the public hearing session. I should have done this earlier. I do apologize for anyone that may be waiting. We do have continued hearings this evening in the public hearing session, which we're about to start now. If you are here, and we will vote to officially ratify these continuances later, but if you're officially here for 41 Prince SE 42 2910, that is continued. If you're here for 257 Oak SE 42 2908, that is continued. If you're here for 300 Ridge Road SE 42 2820, that is continued. If you're here for 0 Brewster SE 42 2887, that is continued. And if you're here for South River SE 42 2905, that is continued. And there is one
64 Webster Jim, that golf course.
Yeah, I'm just looking for the number here.
Yeah. Didn't get a number yet. It's 624 Webster. The number hasn't been generated yet, Jim. Sorry.
Okay, 624 Webster, that's Green Harbor Golf Course. That has been continued as well. I apologize to anyone that has waited through the business sessions before I announce that. With that, if you get my paperwork in order, we will move to the first public hearing of the evening. This is going to be 44 Beach. And in compliance with the regulations of Massachusetts General Laws 131, Section 40 of the Wetland Protection Act, the Code of Town of Marshfield, Chapter 294, protection of public hearing will be held by the Marshfield Conservation Commission on Tuesday, March 16, 2021 at 6:30 by Zoom to consider 44 Beach Road. And that is that an NOI or RDA, right?
All NOIs this time.
An NOI for 44 Old Beach Road. Hearing officer is Commissioner Craig. You have the floor, Commissioner Craig.
Thank you. Bill, can you confirm taxes and fees are paid and abutters notified?
Yes, scrambling right now for you, Madam Hearing Officer. One moment. The answer is taxes handled on 3/4. Butters came in and we verified 3/9. File numbers generated 2912, 42, 2912 on March 12th. The fees were paid on February 25th, and the legal ad was published on 3/10/2021. Joe, thanks a lot for all your help on that department.
Thank you. This is a front porch, garage overhang, hardscape, and landscape. Is there someone here to present for the applicant?
Yes, Brendan Sullivan with Kevin R. Consulting.
Thank you. Go ahead.
So this property, as you mentioned, is 44 Old Beach Road. It abuts the seawall at the end of Old Beach Road. It's on the corner of Old Beach Road and basically the Atlantic Ocean, the seawall there. We have 3 resource areas. We have Coastal Beach, Coastal Bank created from the seawall, and we also have land subject to coastal storm flowage. Basically, the velocity, the VE elevation 19 goes through the middle of the house. And on the back side of the lot, which is the front side, the landward side, there's an AO, a depth of 3 foot. That's the flood zone, the flood plain on that side. Most of the lot right now is gravel and some scrub brush. There's some landscaping beds, not a lot. So this plan is we're working with Sion Landscape. We've put together a landscape plan with a number of plantings, planting beds, lawn in the front yard, enhanced plantings in the back, and a stepping stone walkway that's going to go from that's going to take you from one side of the house to the other, in between the house and the seawall. As you mentioned, there's a small covered porch in the front. There's also there's a roof overhang over the garage doors, a 3-foot overhang with a cobble apron below that on the front side as well. And really, that's about it. There is a fire pit on the north side of the lot that we're going to enlarge a little bit with some pervious paving stones. This one that's there is small and inadequate, so we're going to enlarge that a little bit. But other than the planting beds and the treescapes, that's really about it.
Thank you. Mr. Grafton, do you have comments?
When I went out to in the field, I was actually with Commissioner Karen. We were pretty impressed with homeowner Rick Granis. The property's got a lot of great natural elements to it that are permeable. We've got beach grass in the backyard, which is really up at the seawall. We've got pervious driveway, and we emphasized that, and he was all in on it. We asked him if he could get his, help out for closing this out and making sure that we have ultimate confidence that this is going to be built as it's said, because the site plan is nice and wonderful, has things like an impervious table, but it doesn't have a cross section. And immediately he jumped on that, and we had that response within 48 hours. So it came in a little late, but actually it was a stellar job that included pictures and high-tech picture drawings that were done. So I'm sure we have it. Not a requirement, but this is a great supplement that I asked for.
Thank you. Any comments from commissioners? Any comments from members of the public? Okay, hearing none. I am in agreement with Mr. Grafton. When I went to the site, I was impressed. And I thank you very much for getting those cross sections in today. That was very helpful. So I move that we approve this with conditions. Bill, can you?
Yes, I can do that. Bear with me as I get settled here. It's a busy office even at night. All right, so the special conditions are traditional. Register both sets of orders with the Plymouth County Registry of Deeds. Provide a Mass DEP sign. Those are critical. Follow all pertinent Marshfield bylaws. Obtain all subsequent permits. Ensure erosion control is in place and do not use hay. It may introduce invasive plants, species, wetlands, and setbacks. Applicant shall observe 310 CMR 10.0 requirements, and no work shall commence until all applicable administrative appeal periods have lapsed. Coordinate pre-construction site meeting with conservation administrator. During the construction of the work, follow best management practices. Okay. All right, step there. Sorry, I had to fix something there. Ensure the footprint of the subsurface remains for use purpose coverage only. Follow the planting plan reference in the final or approved site plans and A, general information, item 8, including plant species, quantity, size, location, and special requirements, such as important soils to the conservation administrator that will satisfy the commission requirements, ensuring that adequate density and integrity of native plantings are 75% successful growth within 2 growing seasons as per 310 CMR 10.24 and 10.53. An implementation planning plan prepared by a qualified wetland scientist, followed by 2 annual monitoring reports prepared and submitted by a qualified wetland scientist are required. Okay, another one I got to kill, sorry. At the conclusion of the work, describing the plan of record and with the approval of the conservation administrator, and erosion control shall be removed. Ensure the footprint of the subsurface remains open or use previous coverage only. This condition remains in perpetuity. Optional native plantings, including herbaceous, woody shrubs, saplings, or saplings are permitted as per the final approved plants referenced in A, general information, item 8, or equivalent alternatives. That was D, post-construction, the proposed work, ongoing conditions. That's it.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Goring, second.
I'm giving that to, who is that, Susan?
Yep.
All right, good call, Susan.
Okay. Commissioner Loggy,
Art Loggy, yes.
Vice Chair O'Donnell,
Bert O'Donnell, yes.
Commissioner Rick,
Rick Carberry, yes.
Commissioner Susan,
Susan Karen, yes.
Commissioner Joe,
Joe Ring, yes.
Chairman Jim,
Jim Kilcoyne says yes.
and Craig Hannafin, yes.
All right. Eric, you just witnessed your first approval on order of conditions. Congratulations. Get this all done.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
You're very welcome. All right, so we will move on then to 49 Mayflower Lane in compliance with the regulations of Massachusetts General Laws 131, Section 40 of the Wetland Protection Act, the Code of the Town of Marshfield. 294 Wetland Protection. The public hearing will be held by the Marshfield Conservation Commission on Tuesday, March 16, 2021 at 6:30 p.m. by Zoom. Consider an NOI by 49 Mayflower Lane, and the hearing officer is Commissioner Rick.
Thank you, Chairman Jim. Okay, brand new NOI for Tim and Julie Williams, 49 Mayflower Road. Can you, Mr. Grafton, confirm that taxes are paid, abutters notified, and that we have a DEP file number, please?
Mr. Hearing Officer, I can indeed. It's taxes paid 3-4, butters on 3-8, file number 2911, that's SE 42-2911, was issued on 3/5/21. The fees were paid on 1/21 to Gatehouse Media. Fees were paid by check to the town, 2/24. The legal ad published 3/10/21. Again, thanks, Joe. It really helps out a lot.
Excellent, thank you. We're ready to go then. This is replacing a deck with a screen porch. Mr. Williams, are you going to summarize the project for us, or you're muted? You're muted.
Is he on? Tim? Something's wrong with your system. Maybe your earbuds. I don't know what to say. Try taking them out and just going straight to the computer. I hear noise now. Try.
There should be a little little microphone at the bottom of your screen when you move your cursor down to the bottom. Way over on the left. On the bottom.
He's gonna try and log back in, he's saying. All right. Just give him a second. All right.
So we're going to take it is now officially 7:55 p.m. I'm going to make a motion that we take an 8-minute break till that would be 8:03 p.m. to allow him to log back in and look for a second for that.
I think his wife Julie is back on.
Is she?
Mr. Chairman.
Try it again.
I see the smiling face. But don't hear anything.
Where'd she go?
I think Julie's trying to help him. Well, Commissioner Rick, we can either adjourn and let them try to resolve their technical issues, or maybe we could move forward with the commissioner discussion around it and give them time to do it.
You got to follow protocol. So, Tim, can you get on? Can you manage it now?
No, he's still
Tim,
on.
speak.
Is it acceptable, Mr. Chair, is it acceptable for the hearing officer to summarize the project? I visited the property today, walked around, said hi to the dog, petted the dog.
I think it's pretty straightforward, isn't it, Rick?
Yeah. So I think the commissioner hearing officer can summarize the project for us. And if there are issues later on with the ratification on this project, then we can.
They're getting another laptop. I'm watching the language. There's a thing called chat, and so they're trying to get into the computer. Maybe Jim's idea of 8 minutes is a good idea. Maybe it's not. I don't know.
So let's just move forward. Commissioner Rick, would you describe the project for the commission, please?
Yeah. Okay. Subbing for my new friend Tim. So there is off the back of this cottage on Mayflower Ave down the street from the beach, a 10 by 10 foot deck on the back corner of the property that apparently what they want to do, and there's a nice drawing here, they want to turn that into an 11 foot by 11 foot screen porch. It will sit on 2 appropriately sized sonotubes. The house as well as this project are outside of the 100. You know, this is an AE zone. The wetlands have been marked and flagged. I saw the flags, and it looks like a very simple and straightforward project to me. So I certainly don't have any issues with it. Bill, you have comments on this project?
No, I think it's pretty straightforward. Tim has been, he's probably pretty frustrated. He actually put a lot of time in, right? Tim, give me the thumbs up on that. All right, see what I mean? He gave you a nice large sheet, you know what I mean, and everything like that, so you can see the project. He flagged flags on both close with, right on his property and, even out of range. So that was great. So we have important data that we can use in the future for other sites. It's a straightforward project, and I think he's done a great job on it. I'm sorry that he can't speak on it himself because he's all in on this. And so I'm pretty much appreciative to him for all that effort.
Okay, excellent. Thank you, Bill. Commissioners, any other questions, comments, concerns?
Rick, I agree. I visited the site with Bill. It's very straightforward. Clearly marked wetlands, clearly outside the 100, and
yeah,
it's a project that can easily be approved, in my opinion.
Yep. Okay. Anybody else?
I agree with Susan.
Okay. All right. Any comments, questions from the public? All right. No one from the public? Then I think I'd like to close the hearing and issue special conditions. Can you read the special conditions, Bill?
Yeah, I'll do it rapidly. The same as the last time, everything the same. Register with both orders with the Plymouth County Registry of Deeds. Post the Mass DEP sign. I'll be having a telecon with you, Mr. Williams. Whoever you use as a builder, they need to know the plan, okay? All right, so it's really important. And then once that all gets done, those D1 special conditions, I can sign off on your building permit, or Eric, maybe within a couple more days, will be signing off on building permits the way he's accelerating. Ensure, okay, after the project gets going, ensure best management practices and current building codes are followed. You need to also ensure the footprint remains open on the property. So check in with us. You now know where the buffer zone is. Provide an elevation cert. This is habitable space, correct? Yeah, okay. So you'll need to provide an elevation cert at the end. Conclusion of the work, remove all the erosion control, and ensure the footprint of the subsurface remains open or use pervious coverage only. The condition remains in perpetuity. That's it, Mr. Hearing Officer. Good job, Tim.
Okay, excellent. Thank you, Bill. All right. I'd like to close the hearing and have a roll call vote. Can I get a second, please?
Craig Hannafin, second.
All right. Second by Craig. Thank you. Roll call vote. Commissioner Art.
Art Loggy, yes.
Commissioner Susan.
Susan Karen, yes.
Vice Chair Burt.
Bert O'Donnell, yes.
Commissioner Joe.
Joe Ring, yes.
Chairman Jim.
Jim Kilcoyne, yes.
Commissioner Craig.
Craig Hannafin, yes.
And lastly, Rick Carberry is also a yes. So it's 7-0, Bill.
Outstanding. Well done, Tim. Well done, Rick.
Nice green porch in the plan.
Right.
With no words spoken by the homeowners.
Christmas.
Enjoy your lunch. You got the whole team there.
We know what we want for our birthday, don't we, Tim?
All right, so now we will move on. As I previously described, Green Harbor Golf Course 624 Webster is continued, but we need to open it. No, I might have put it in the continued part.
Jim, what about Wright's Way? Isn't that the next one, the Wright's Way, Jim?
No, Green Harbor's first, Bill. Green Harbor's first.
Okay.
Applies to the regular Massachusetts General Tax Act 131, Section 4 of the
Yep, I
Tax
see
Act
what
2.
I did. Mhm.
Public hearing will be held in the Marshville Conservation Commission on Tuesday, March 16, 2021 at 6:30 PM by Zoom. Zero notice intent for 624 Webster Street. And the hearing officer is Rick.
Yeah, thank you, Jim. I'm under the information I got later today was that because some of the abutters were missed, the owner of the project has requested to continue. So we're having a meeting on the site with Bill and
Eric.
And Eric tomorrow afternoon. So I think we need to move this, continue it until what, April 6th?
We're going to do this at date certain, April 6th.
Yeah, just getting back. Yes, and indeed, it would be, the next meeting would be April 6th, correct?
Do I need to hold a vote on that?
Yes.
We gave us the continuation email to the 6th, so we can continue. We have to because of the administrative, and he also gave us an email. I'll check in the file just quick. Bear with me, Rick. Bear with me.
While you're bearing with Rick, did we have an administrative miss on the required information?
I think they used the wrong abutters forms, Jim.
Well, they made a typos.
So we're having a hearing without having the information in front of us. So we have a hearing. So are you recommending, not recommending a deny without prejudice count one on this, Commissioner Carver?
No, not.
Okay, well, one thing I want to say is things are stacking up for the 6th, so this is the last time there's leniency, because that did get, there was a little bounciness there. I am also sympathetic, and I think I would have said the same thing, but we do have a backlog, so a word to the wise in the engineering world and land surveyors, make sure it's right going forward. They did give a letter, Rick, by the way, so to your defense on that decision, okay?
So, Rick, will you just make a motion? We'll continue at date certain 6. We'll do a roll call vote for the continuance, then I won't do it on the back end.
Yeah. Can I have a second to continue this hearing on the Green Harbor Golf Course until April?
Second, Bert O'Donnell.
Thank you, Bert. All right, roll call vote. Commissioner Art?
Art Loggy, yes.
Commissioner Susan?
Susan Karen, yes.
Commissioner Craig?
Craig Hannafin, yes.
Commissioner Joe?
Joe Rig, yes.
Vice Chair Bert?
Bert O'Donnell, yes.
Chairman Jim?
Jim Kilcoyne is a yes.
And Rick Carver is a yes. Continued 7:00. Oh, and I guess, Jim, you were, Chairman Jim, you were to be recused on that, but it's continued, so.
Continued, so I'll recuse my, yes.
Okay.
For the continuance. Thank you for reminding me on that as well. Okay. You can make a note to remind me if the chairman can't keep his head together that I need to recuse or any other commissioners on this property. We'll now move to the next item, which is 10 Wrights Way in compliance with the regulations of Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 131, Section 4 of the Wetlands Protection Act, the Code of Town of Marshfield, Chapter 294. Wetlands Protection. Public hearing will be held by the Marshfield Conservation Commission on Tuesday, March 16, 2021, 6:30 p.m. by Zoom for Lot 10 Wrights Way. And the hearing officer, I do believe, is Commissioner Arthur. Yeah.
Okay, Bill, can you confirm that the taxes have been paid, fees have been paid, the abutter is notified, and all permits have been filed that are necessary?
Bear with me. I have got it, but I'm not finding it. So what have I done with it? Work. Here we go. All right. The answer is, Mr. Hearing Officer, taxes paid in 3/4, butters were confirmed on 3/12. File number is a town bylaw only 21-01. Excuse me. Oh my God. Oh. 1, right. Okay, and we've got the fees on 3/4 for the town of Marshfield. We got the Gatehouse Media on 2/17, and it was published on 3/10/21 in the legal ad. Thank you, Joe, again.
Okay, thanks, Bill. We have someone to present this project.
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes, identify yourself, please.
Yep. My name is Paul Gunn. I'm a design engineer at Morse Engineering. And yeah, so I'm here tonight to represent Gerard and Jenna Owerka for the notice of intent for an access driveway at Lot 10 Wrights Way. Also, I think per the assessors known as 107 Wrights Way. Lot 10 is still one of the undeveloped lots on Wrights Way. The site has frontage on Wrights Way to the northeast and is abutted by developed residential zone properties and slopes downward generally to the northeast, also towards the only resource area on site, which is the isolated vegetated wetland, which was discussed earlier tonight in part. The site is located in a DEP Zone 2, but not in a Zone A, and there are no NHESP habitats for priority wildlife or vernal pools on the site. In regards to what we're proposing, is mainly the construction of an access driveway and some subsurface utilities to a single family dwelling within the buffer zone to the isolated vegetated wetland. This access was, I believe, allowed under variance from the original NOI for the subdivision, which was file number 42-2217. The closest portion of the work, which would be in this case the limit of clearing, is proposed at 31.8 feet away from the resource area. In addition, we're keeping the dwelling, the septic system, and all subsurface roof drainage systems outside of the 100-foot buffer to the isolated wetland. In regards to mitigation and protection, I believe we're largely following what was agreed upon under the original subdivision, including a post and rail fence with markers as close to the 100-foot buffer as practicable, in addition to 8 markers along and these would be Marshfield conservation markers along the 25-foot buffer zone. In addition, we're providing erosion controls to be installed at the limit of work, and all disturbed areas not being paved will of course be stabilized with loam and seed post-construction. And finally, per the original subdivision, once again, we will be providing an enhanced planting area located between the isolated vegetated wetland and the area between the existing street and the proposed driveway in the northwest of the lot. Again, once again, specified per the original filing under file number 42-2217. I believe that's all I have, so I'll now turn it over to the commission for question and comment.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, my only concern is with paving, especially at the top. And I'm going to ask Bill to make some comments next, and then we can come back to that and see what the other commissioners think about it. And I know there is a variance in place, but Bill, would you go ahead and make some comments on this?
Yeah, Paul, question for you. Did you say 25-foot setback for these markers?
Oh, sorry, 50. That's 50. Yeah.
Good job recovery.
Yeah, my mistake.
That's required under the subdivision, okay?
Yep.
The subdivision, everything on the subdivision carries on to this new owner as per some of the conversations going on tonight. So they need to post those sooner rather than later. I don't know if I put those on Commissioner Legge as I had them later in the special conditions, you know, as post during construction. You may want to have those as a first hand item, in other words, prior to the work starting, so that there's no issues. You also might want to get this fence, now that we've had our conversation tonight, that's part of the Water Protection Resource District, that's got the planning board's signage on there, also as a precondition. Some people might argue that's a different department, but it is a way of managing that, and at least we'll get that. There's also plantings that are part of the subdivision that this property now owns, based on the fact that this has been conveyed, and they will have to make those plantings. That's on sheet 18 of 20 on the November 18, 2013 plans for the John Sherman Estates. And other than that, I am just searching out the impervious table. Paul, where's your impervious table?
I do not believe I have one, though I can provide one. I apologize for that.
No, you're just to the left of Greg's signature. It's here.
Oh, do I?
They have got existing conditions. They're going to have, they got, obviously, it's undeveloped land. They're going to have 5,555 square feet of impervious coming up. And a lot of this is the driveway, which, although it is, Paul, it's allowed because it's a structure, due to the fact that there's a variance built into the orders of conditions for the amended plan orders of conditions for John Sherman Estates, SE 42-217 amended. That doesn't mean you necessarily get a gravel driveway. So reducing that might be something the commission wants to consider. To your point, Commissioner Legge, I'm just getting on top of that now as you bring it to my attention. I don't really have anything more to say other than that. The flagging has been reviewed for Larkin, for this property, and for Borchert, who recently also came before us in January or December. That's it, Mr. Hearing Officer.
Oh, okay, so Bill, that was very, very good. Thank you. But can you a little more specific? I know maybe this is, you're just now considering the impervious and the amount of it in the driveway. Do you want some time to think about that? And I'll go move on to other commissioners.
No, we don't need to do that. I think that what we have is most of the project, other than the driveway, I think we'll all agree is outside the 100, except the conservation markers and the driveway, and the lines for the septic, the lines for the gas and the water. That's it. So you could take the jurisdictional elements of this, Commissioner Leahy, and have it be gravel or pervious pavers. That's one option. You could also draw on 505-32, which I have to get that one, which states that anything outside of the jurisdictional boundaries that the commission feels is within, that has an impact on resource areas could be considered. 3B2, my bad. So you could also pick up more of the driveway if you wanted.
Okay, let me make some comments, and I'm going to ask the other commissioners my feeling on this. I think the pervious pavers would be a way to go. I think the gravel might wash out. I think there's quite a grade there. But I do think this, the way it's presented to be paved and completely impervious is not the way to go. So let me just ask other commissioners for if they have any comments on this.
May I make a comment, Arthur?
Of course.
This, correct me if I'm wrong, but this seems to me to be the exact situation we had on the abutting lot. And the crux of that issue was that the variance granted to the subdivision did not absolve individual homeowners from meeting our wetland regulations. We have a significant portion of the driveway in the 75 here that is a structure. And I just am not at all comfortable with that sort of impervious cover.
Thank you. Other commissioners?
This is all woods and undisturbed now, right, Art?
Yes.
And how long is that driveway? 3,000 or 4,000 feet?
It's a big one.
The driveway is approximately 200 feet, perhaps 220.
Okay.
I should also know we have it as close to the I suppose from this plan view, the left lot line as is allowed from Marshfield zoning.
Commissioner Arthur, may I make a comment?
Yes.
From a planning board perspective, the applicant has a right for this driveway. They have a variance. This discussion is not about whether they get a driveway, have a driveway and access to their home. Questions about that does not absolve it from meeting our local bylaws. And what we have here under the local bylaw is a structure within the 75, which is a significant part of the driveway. Subsequent to that, a previous conversation we had with the developer of this property is once this is now conveyed, we're going to have to make sure that these markers, the subdivision plantings, which are up front on Wright's Way, and the fencing is accomplished. Otherwise, we're going to have to come back and at each one of these individual properties and try to get it complied with. So this is a great opportunity now here. I actually very much agree with Administrator Grafton that we should, what's the right word, Bill? It's not segmented, is we put it before it, sequence.
Sequence it, perfectly put.
Sequence this, that the plantings need to be done, the rail needs to be done, and all the things to meet the planning board's requirements are done prior to construction of the house. I'm not so concerned about the septic system. That way we know that this is at least done from a subdivision perspective. We don't have to come at it. Regarding the driveway. We had a similar issue right on the other side of this wetland. And we did allow the pavement there to go through. It was probably a similar type length. But that applicant offered us a significant amount of land mitigation to offset that. And I think that's the only way that we actually, I think, agreed to not make it impervious as Commissioner Arthur is suggesting. I would put out for a suggestion here, that one thing we could do, if you look at the red markers on the 50, the markers will be moved to the 75, similar to what they did on the other
Hey,
side.
Jim, hang on a minute. We've already got the split rail fence that the planning board is required.
That's
It
for
might,
zoning. That's for zoning. That's not,
well, that,
it has nothing to do with wetlands.
well,
Bert,
it's,
really,
Vice Chair Burt, if I may finish my comments, and then I'll let you have yours.
all right, go ahead.
Thank you, thank you, Vice Chair. So what I'd like to offer, as like we did in the property beside, is that we move the 50-foot markers to the 75 towards the house, gaining the land just like we did with Mr. Boucher offered to us for mitigation. And then down in the little corner triangle, move those out also to the 75. And that would be pretty much equivalent to what the Mr. Boucher offered for land to be able to have an impervious versus pervious. And that's how we got the pervious. So otherwise, if I think that's not achievable, then I think that anything within the 75 should be pervious. Thank you.
Thanks, Jim. Okay, Bert, did you have some comments?
Yeah, two comments. Number one is we have this enhanced planting area, but I don't think we have information on that with this plan. We need to have that. And the other thing is to Jim's comment, this planning board decision about split rail fence, I believe that encompasses an area that's to not be disturbed. So whether it's conservation or planning, if the area is not going to be disturbed, I think we're safe with it. We need to confirm that. And then the third point is, I don't see a point for double markers. You know, if the planning board is marking an area and says it's not to be disturbed, I don't see us requiring additional markers closer in. It should all just be one area, do not disturb, and avoid confusion and avoid future encroachments.
So as your subject matter expert, I'd like to be able to talk for a second, Mr. Arias.
Yeah, I would just, before you do, Bill, I would like to say that if it's a conservation issue and if there's no disturb based on conservation concerns, then there should be no disturb conservation markers there.
All right.
So, and I think that needs to be clarified. And if that's the case, they should be there because it makes it very clear that it's a no disturb. And those markers are there in perpetuity, and they're on those 4x4 posts with the official medallion on it, sign on it. Okay, Bill, go ahead.
Okay, so it's clear as a bell in SE 42-2217 amended that both need to exist. Both. They're on the plan on every single sheet. All right. And they also are.
Go ahead, Bill.
They're also in the language of the orders of conditions of the amended orders. So both things need to exist. Art and I spent a lot of time talking with Paul Driscoll, and we know this is the case. All right. So they both have to be there if they want to be done with the certificate of compliance for SE 42-2217. And as Paul says, is by the nature of this, as he sells off lots, the new homeowners become the owners of the 2217 amended order of conditions and the originals. So all those requirements are incumbent on them. So we have our work cut out for us, and so does planning, because some of these people have not put up the water protection, water resource protection districts posts and signage. So working together with them, we achieve the dual goal. So this is an opportunity, not a conflict.
So do we feel, any other commissioners have any comments on this?
So we're talking markers on the 50 and 75? Is that where we are?
I think what was happening was Jim was talking about maybe punching them out to the 75, but it's a little confusing because you're supposed to have them on the 50 for the on the special conditions under the amended. You would, I suppose, by default, achieve the goal of the 50 by bumping them out to the 75. I just want to make that clear. So if you step out.
I'm sorry, the point I'm trying to make is if the planning board has already got it to be no disturb, why not put our markers out there? And that's the trade-off for getting the pervious driveway, for doing the paved driveway.
I don't know if you can do that, Bert. Planning is pretty fixed in there when they make a determination. That's what my experience has been.
It's the same line, Bill. It's just putting our markers there. We're gaining.
Oh, you're saying.
Vice Chair Burt, wait a second, Bill, Vice Chair Burt, are you saying put our markers along the fence? Is that what you're saying, Vice Chair?
Exactly. I'm sorry if I was unclear before.
Yeah, sorry. I did not I totally misunderstood you, Vice Chair.
Me too.
Yeah, because I thought you were, Bert, I thought you were saying leave theirs, that would suffice for ours.
That's what I thought too, the way you said it.
As long as we get the conservation non-disturbed, that's fine with me too.
So you want to move them up gradient to match the planning board signage. Is that what you're saying?
They're going to be, the planning board is requiring them to build a split rail fence. We put our conservation, but to keep that undisturbed land, we put our conservation markers on there and call it a day.
Yeah, I see that now. So you're saying move it up gradient to match the planning board. Okay. That makes more.
I would like the conservation markers to be on the 4x4 posts, not on the split rail fence, which will disappear at some point.
Well, that's tricky because what happened is the language, and you and I kind of talked to Greg Morris and Paul Driscoll about this in that sheet 19. I can't remember which ones. This says proposed post and rail fence, and it doesn't give the option for post here, Art. And I think the properties over at lot 2 through 6 can be posts or post and rail fence. So I would be very careful about requiring anything less than what the planning board's got laid out here, if we're going to join their plan. Greg Morris has joined us.
So then I do have concerns. Maybe other commissioners don't, but I do. If the conservation markers on no disturb are supposed to be conservation markers, they should conform to what we generally require.
We will go with sometimes, or you will allow fences. As an example, 2000 Ocean Street was on a fence. They just reset the fence and put them up there. So it isn't uncommon to have it happen.
Yeah, but we're talking about trading off. I don't know if we're going to consider an impervious driveway or not, but.
Well, I mean, it's different. I'm saying to you that you have to be very careful with this. Greg is chiming in a little bit maybe on this. You have to be really careful because to meet the planning board's requirements, on one side, it's post and rail or posts. Okay, post and rail on fence or posts. And then on the other side, it's simply post and rail on fence. Okay.
Right.
Why couldn't we require both?
Commissioner Arthur?
Yes.
I don't know why we keep talking about the planning board. Okay?
That was my point.
The commission can require markers in any way they want. If the commission as a group wants to require posts laid right underneath or beside the fence, they can. All right? I think the vice chair had a great idea. If that's a no touch anyway, then we just put the markers right along it. We're done, and then the commission decide whether that's an adequate trade-off, right?
Right, and so I'm supportive of using what Bert said, that line where the fence is, but I would like our traditional posts with the angle cut at the top with our medallion on the post to designate the non-touch beyond that.
Take a quick poll of the commission, Commissioner Arthur, and see if they concur with that.
Okay. Yes, good idea. So let me start with Craig.
I concur with Arthur.
Susan.
Sure, I would agree with that.
Joe?
Yes.
Bert?
No, I'm sorry. I think it's okay on a fence. The fence has to be maintained in perpetuity.
So you don't agree with the post?
No. I believe it's something that we've allowed fences in the past. I think it's something that,
Yeah, I think
Good
it's,
work.
Rick,
I'd like to see our posts.
and I think, Jim, Jim?
You have it, then me, I'm fine if the will of the commission to see posts. I'd be willing to accept the decision by the commission. Seems like the poll wants to see the posts.
Okay, the poll does, and certainly I do. So let's do that. And then are we ready to, are there anyone from the public, anyone in the would like to comment?
Yes, please.
Okay, identify yourself, please.
Gregory Morse, Morse Engineering. I apologize if I repeat anything that was previously said. I was just in another hearing in another town and just logged back in a minute ago. Regarding the fencing and the posts on the lot, there's two requirements on this lot that are already required. Okay, one of them is construction of a post and rail fence. The post and rail fence is to have signage on it already. That is a condition of the planning board's approval. Secondly, when this subdivision was approved, the Conservation Commission has an order of conditions which covers the subdivision. And as part of that order of conditions, you already require on this lot the conservation posts placed along the 25-foot, or it might even be the 50-foot. I don't have the conservation sign in
It's
front of me at the
50,
moment.
50, Greg.
So we're placing signs already at the 50-foot buffer, 25 feet on center under that order of conditions. And so it sounds like you're discussing potentially adding a third set of signs at the 100-foot buffer, which doesn't, there's already a fence at the 100-foot buffer, and there's already signs at the 50 already required on this property without you doing anything further on it. Those are already in place as part of the subdivision. I just want to make that clear.
What they're saying is they're going to they'd like to move in the vicinity of 10. They want to move them from the 50 out to match the planning board's fence. And then they want it on their own posts. That's what they're saying.
So you certainly can add additional ones along the fence, but the fence again already has signage on it. And the posts that you already require at the 50-foot buffer are under an other order of conditions for the subdivision. So you would have to amend that subdivision order of conditions. I don't think that's your intent.
I hear what you're saying, Greg, but it's equal, equivalent, or better, right? And if it's better, that means you go up gradient. So I typically use that kind of language with the commission. And if they get to 50 or 51 or 75 or 76 or 100 or more, that's better than the 50. So you have more than fulfilled the requirements. So I don't see that being a problem from that perspective. They just worked it out that they want their own posts up against the planning fence and with its sign. So that's what they're voting on.
But, and Greg, are you're commenting as representing the owner? I was asking for public comment.
Well, that was helpful though, Rick. I mean, in all.
No, I agree, but I still, I want it clear that I'm asking for some public comment, if anyone from the public wants to. Okay, hearing none. Okay, thanks, Greg. I think we've got that. I don't know if you need to comment anymore.
No, thank you.
Okay, thanks. Are we in a situation where we have enough information to go ahead and have you, Bill, summarize the conditions to vote on this? We want to continue this.
I'm trying to get a handle on it, and I think I've got it. I don't know what you want to do with the driveway. That's the thing. So what I'm hearing right now, to paraphrase,
that's where I was going to hear. Yeah, for your comments. I mean, I would like in some way to address the concerns I have on having an impervious driveway here.
Okay, let me try to nail down what I can rapidly, as it is 8:35. So the traditional before the commencing the work is all there, okay? Then, and this is the pre-construction before commencing the work. We have implement the mitigation plan as per sheet 18, Greg's plan of November 18, 2013. Lot 10 will have to do that work. You said you wanted that these 9 posts on conservation markers. I had it referencing what the sheets, the final plans in the November 18, 2013 amended order conditions. We could move it up gradient. I could change that and make it up gradient to match the planning and make that a D1 before the commencement of the work, a special condition. I had to post the water resource district signage as a D3 post construction. I can move that up also to a D1 before commencing the proposed work. I can do that and sort that out for you. What I can't do is deal with the driveway because I don't know what you want to do on that.
Okay, so thank you. You got all the other ones. So I'm
I
going
think
to,
if that sounds right to the commission, and I'm asking all of you, so I'm basically going to front load all those special conditions on the pre-commencement. Therefore, they can't start building the house until they get that done based upon what the commission wants.
yes. So fine with
Art,
that.
the only thing I'm still a little unclear on is the planting plan. Is this gonna be done up front too?
Yes.
Okay.
So I was making a suggestion that we use pervious pavers if they want something hard there, which will allow the drainage. But we could say gravel, or you could say stick with the impervious. But I really don't think we should go with an impervious drive here. Could I get a sense from the other commissioners? Commissioner Hannafin?
I would like to see pervious pavers. I'm afraid that how steep is the slope? I've seen it. I think gravel is going to erode.
Right, that's my feeling.
Down the slope.
At its steepest, the slope is approximately 12%.
It's a tough area. There's a lot of erosion going on for those who've been over there on a regular basis like me. And getting it stabilized and getting it covered with pavers or whatever quickly is the key.
Commissioner Karen?
Well, I think it's ideally we'd rather not see this bituminous concrete here, but if it's even if a portion of it were done impervious, I'd feel a little bit better about it. That would be my thought.
And Commissioner Ring?
I, like Susan, think that partial impervious and partial, partial of each. Let's go that way. And the area towards the house down to about where it intersects with the 50, they could do with something that's impervious just to hold it together. And then from there on, input gravel. As
opposed to the pervious pavers?
Yeah, because pervious pavers tend to be really expensive. So
And
Big
it's
driveway.
an option,
It's a big
for
driveway.
consideration at least.
Commissioner Carberry?
Yeah, if on the other lot, we allowed paving and took back some space by moving markers, markers out as mitigation, why would we treat this one any differently? These people are going to be neighbors, and I would worry about the expense. I mean, pervious pavers are expensive for such a long driveway. And I'm not so sure that doing a small section with pervious pavers is going to make that much difference. But it certainly is a lot of impervious surface, and I worry about that too. But I worry about the expense of doing that and the precedent set with the other lot.
Well, sometimes we make mistakes, and we may have made one on the other, but And I don't know exactly if that drive is the same type of thing, but I hear what you're saying on the expense. But were you saying that you would like to see a mix, Rick, or are you saying just treat it the same as the other person?
Well, if we're getting a planting area out front, and they've got to get that sequence done first, and we're going to move our markers, out along where the planning board wants the fence, which is on the 100-foot setback line. In my opinion, I'd be maybe more likely to allow them to do an impervious driveway. As much.
Rick, one thing just weigh in on your thinking, Rick, is that the implementation plan, the posting of the conservation markers, and the posting of the water resource district, that's built into the amended or subdivision order conditions, and somebody's responsible. And the way Paul described it, and I actually think he's right tonight, Paul Driscoll, the new owners own that problem. Somebody's got to deal with it, and it passes to them. It carries, just like he said. If oil is on their property, they own the oil now. I don't. I sold it.
Okay, Bert, Commissioner O'Donnell.
Yeah, I felt by pushing the markers out, that was in return for allowing the impervious driveway. I know we've been told in the past that any grade over 15%, you pretty much had to pave it. 12 is pretty close. I just see it as being issues. That's just my thought. Go along with the majority.
And Commissioner Kilcoyne, Chairman Kilcoyne, I should say.
Thank you, Arthur. I'm trying to separate planning, Concom, because we don't have jurisdiction on planning. Planning's already ordered. It is what it is. So if I just looked at this, forgetting all the planning requirements as a conservation commissioner, and the applicant said to me, I know I'm putting probably 4,000 feet of impervious within the 75. I made that number up, might be close, pretty close. But for that, I'm going to give you from the 50 all the way to 100, 50 feet by almost 80 feet wide of additional conserved land. And then on top of that, I'm going to, in that front corner, give you another amount of land. To me, I would probably say yes to that, although I wouldn't be happy. But that means it's perpetually saved. Whether it's already saved by the planning, I'm trying to separate that because we don't have to do with planning. We should just think about our jurisdiction only. So if we have markers along that black dotted line, all the way up to the 100 and then running along there, and we sequence this so we don't have any other issues, I would vote to allow them to have the impervious driveway. Not thrilled, but I think that's a really good trade-off that we would take from others. We never set precedent. So that's kind of my take.
Basically, the project is a driveway and a house, right? Everything else is off limits.
Right.
It's not it's not a thing.
Yeah.
I sort of like the idea myself of what Joe and Susan were saying, that maybe a combination. I'm really concerned about having a total big driveway that's impervious there. I mean, it just doesn't seem right. I'd like to move.
May I ask a question?
Of course.
Is there any way to engineer drains or anything in a bituminous concrete driveway?
This is Greg Morse. I'll respond to that. Impervious driveways are what is ideal in this circumstance because of the grade. A pervious driveway in this application is not a good location for it because of the slope. Pervious driveways, whether it's a pervious paver or a gravel, they're great when you have grades of less than 3%, and you might actually get some infiltration through the surface. In this scenario here, you don't have that. It's a steep slope. It's 10 to 12% slope coming up to the house. If that's a pervious surface, it's not going to do anything with respect to stormwater runoff. I would add that this driveway does not drain to the isolated wetland. All of the runoff on this driveway drains to the street. The street then goes through a full treatment stream. It goes through catch basins, sediment forebays, a detention basin before it's ultimately discharged. The subdivision, when it was designed, we spoke extensively with the Conservation Commission about the driveways. They're all labeled as bituminous concrete, asphalt driveways. We received a waiver allowing for the construction of the driveway on this lot with, because this is an open space development project. Looking at the big picture here, we have a natural vegetated buffer entirely around the project. We've reduced the land disturbance areas. We're putting conservation restriction areas on several large open pieces of land. That was all in exchange, in addition to some additional plantings at the front of the isolated wetland. All of that was peer reviewed by the town's peer review consultant and Amory Engineering. It was reviewed by a nitrogen specialist to look at the quality of the runoff, and it was all designed as asphalt driveways. I design a lot of pervious driveways. This is not a great application for one. I don't see that it would be any benefit at all to the isolated wetland at the front of lot 10. I really don't. It's not a proper application for it.
So
Could it be done? It absolutely could be. It's not going to benefit the wetland there, and this subdivision was designed to handle the runoff off of this driveway.
Mr. Hearing Officer, just one thing. I would say that, you know, we have a bunch of subject matter experts that we're working with these days, and we hire them as third parties, whatever. Greg's been on this since inception. So, you know, he has given you informative information. We do have a lot of erosion problems because these people aren't doing the erosion control. We've told them and we told them, we've told them. We can't have that happen at this one for sure, but he may have a point about this paved situation here due to the slope. If you look about the one that Craig had over at Old Mount Skirgo, she had a good point. There were some cross drains, Greg, that were worked in, but you know, we don't really want to do that here. We want to get it off the property and into the storm drain, which is designed. Old Mount Skirgo has nothing in the street. It's just going to pond up and be a mess. So that's why we added that. And the town engineer thought it was a good idea.
Yeah, I suppose if the driveway is constructed exceedingly, you know, level and so forth, so the water runs down to the catch basins and the street where it's supposed to, but odds are that's not going to happen. Some of it will and some of it won't.
We also, you don't want anything to discharge in that isolated vegetated wetland. You want to leave it
right.
natural.
I mean, there's been ever since I've been going over there, there's been all kinds of erosion issues and washing into the street, and you know, and we could go on and on about it, but there's no point.
We could certainly add a berm along the edge of the driveway to keep the runoff on the driveway. That could either be added to the plan or added as a condition if that was a concern.
Good suggestion.
That's not bad. So add a berm to the driveway.
I mean, that would certainly help. It would help with some of the concerns that I have with it.
Commissioner Arthur, I think you're at a point where someone has to make a motion.
Yeah, that's true. So I was trying to get everyone to get all their comments out here. So if we're going to make a motion to close and have conditions with special conditions, then I need Bill to be comfortable with how he's going to.
I think I got this. So, or if you take a poll, okay. So, Greg, this berm that you visualize, okay, Greg
And
Morris.
an asphalt berm along the left side of the driveway, between the driveway and the wetland, right?
Okay,
on the
right. So
left-hand
you're
side.
saying separating the driveway from the wetland, you'd add a berm, like a bump of some kind to keep the water, flowing towards the down gradient from the driveway, correct?
To keep it on the driveway surface. It would be constructed out of asphalt, like a Cape Cod berm,
Right.
right along the edge of the driveway.
But not to exceed what you currently have. Is that possible?
Yes.
Okay. So what the commission wants is by 12 noon Friday, what's the date Friday? Somebody help me out. Anybody who can.
The 19th.
Thank you. God bless you. On the 19th, Greg, we need a new plan showing that this new berm will go no closer to the wetlands than what you've shown the commission already. And if the commission agrees to it. And then I have the rest of the stuff they want me to put in here.
So the issue is we do that as with conditions, you get it in, can we do this or do we need to continue?
You could do this. Greg's been one of the better ones who responds. Others have not. That has been frustrating for the office, especially these days. Greg, you can make it by the 12 noon, the 19th?
Yes.
Paul, you're good with that too?
Yep.
Got it. I'd say that's a go.
Okay, if I don't hear any objection from any of the other commissioners, then I'm going to go ahead and make the motion that we close and issue orders and conditions with a special conditions.
I don't know what I'm voting on.
Okay, so what you're going to do is, that's why my concern is whether or not we would have to continue this until we get the information in front of us. What Bill was suggesting is that if Greg can get this stuff in by Friday, that's what it's going to be. If it doesn't come in by Friday, then we would not, then this.
So I'm okay with that. I just want to make sure, I'm just confused with what we're voting on. So with what Bill just laid out, with the Cape Cod berm that Mr. Morse offered, right? With the fence, with our post beside the fence and capturing the 100, with the sequencing, we're allowing the paved driveway to go through with the addition of the berm, and we're going to just not have another continuance for the next meeting, right? We got 9
Right, so so what I'm acknowledging is I'm making the motion, don't know if it's gonna pass. The only two people that I know when we did the poll was Craig and myself. And you maybe sort of, Jim, but Craig and myself did not want to see this impervious drive and the extent of it. We listened to the arguments. We could still vote no on this, but we've got the motion out there. And if it gets second, we're going to vote on it. So if Craig and I feel strongly that can't live with that, then we'd probably vote no. But I think the discussion, Greg brought up some good points. The Bill's points on this, the berm might take care of the concerns that I have. These driveways, they say, oh, it's all going to run down the street. They're all going to be, exactly pitched just exactly right. And all this water is going to build up speed and run right down to those drains. It's not going to happen unless you help it happen. So
Can I second your motion?
and all that stuff then winds up down into the wetlands, and it's continues stuff down into the wetlands. This is what happens. So
All right, can I second your motion?
Yes, you may. I think I got enough. So yes, okay. Joe seconded.
I submit that second.
All right.
Okay, rock and roll. Oh, you want me to read it?
Yes, Bill.
Okay, so the D1s are all the normals. We're not going over it. I've got implementation of the mitigation plan. You all know what it is. It's from the subdivision. No more language on it. I'm moving up the post-denying conservation markers to pre-commencement. I'm also going to have that move to match, okay, the planning WRPD fence, okay? I'm gonna move up, post the water resource protection on the fence also to level 1. We're expecting a revised plan showing this berm. Did I do something?
Go ahead. I think someone is talking in the background.
A duck. Okay, I got it. All right, so the Aflac duck, right? So broke my rhythm there. It's not a good thing. I'll start over.
Go ahead. Pick up where you pick up
Almost
where you.
done. Give a break. And then basically everything else is pretty much standard like I read before. That's it.
And you got yeah. And
At the berm, it's 12 noon Friday. Both Paul and Greg know it, or I'm going to find them.
if it's not there, then
Right. Then they violated this, and then you're going to have a vote at the next meeting, which is beyond 21 days. A little tough. We'll have a special meeting, and we'll deny on it because they didn't deliver. You have lack of information, and you'll deny. They won't do that.
okay, we've heard the conditions, special conditions. I'm going to start with the vote. Joe seconded, so I'm going to start with Joe.
Joe votes yes.
Bert,
Bert O'Donnell, yes.
Rick,
Rick Carver, yes.
Jim,
Rick Kilcoyne, yes.
Susan,
Susan Karen, yes.
and Craig.
Craig Hannafin, yes.
And Art Laggy is going to go along and vote yes on this too. The berm. So it's 7-0-0.
Okay.
Thank you.
12 noon, guys. 12 noon Friday.
No problem,
Okay.
Bill.
Hey,
Thank
Lou,
One.
help me out with something. I missed the motion on the Webster. Jim made the motion, like most likely, or Rick might have. Rick, you made the motion on that?
I did.
Who seconded that?
Gonna have to check the tape.
Okay. And it was all voted in 7-0 or 6-0-0, one abstain.
7-0.
Got it. Check the tape. Gotcha. Okay,
I think Craig seconded it, but I'm not sure.
I'm checking the tape now, okay? That's why we have the tape. Ah, that's great.
Okay. Move on.
Got 3 done, guys. Good. And ladies.
Second Homes 14, I am not reading the ad because this is a continuance.
Right.
Officer is Arthur.
I'm the lucky guy again. Okay, I'm going to do it a little differently, seeing this is continuation. And Bill and I think it was Terry and Greg, we've worked on this thing. And Bill, I'd like you to summarize where we're at.
Very good, Mr. Hearing Officer. That is my pleasure to do. Just give me one moment to catch up to you. You are lightning quick. So we've been out to this many times. 5 of you have been in the field in the cold reviewing this with Greg Gibbs and Terry McGovern. Art and I have been back there talking about other things, and they're whittling away on their special conditions. They provided us with a structural engineer plan that is stamped at your request. We've got comment letters, which you've seen. They've been emailed to you. They're in the Google Drive, and they were recently sent to you again from the building commissioner and from the Board of Health Assistant Director, who's got an engineering background. They were in favor of that plan. So we seem to have what we need, except for a conservation and management plan revision. They have put in for that. They have staked out the primary task under the CMP revision, which is the concrete monumentation for the turtles. Art and I saw the bean poles with the pink flags on them. They're done. They're being worked on. They're in the midst of that. So I don't think we should hold them back. During the COVID-19 circumstances, many of the state agencies are not going into their offices, disrupting their capacity to function. So I would say we can move forward on this. I think there's no need to tie any of the outstanding subdivision order special conditions to this property. This one can stand alone and go forward. And that's my 2 cents on it.
And I concur with that. Does any other commissioners have any comments on this? Anyone from the public?
No, sir.
then I'm going to make a motion to close and to issue any conditions with special conditions. And may I have a second?
Second, Susan Karen.
Thank you, Craig.
Susan, all right.
Bill,
Pardon me?
Susan seconded.
I caught
Craig.
that. That's helpful. Mr. Hearing Officer, may I blast through these special conditions so that there's no confusion?
Yes, so I don't want any confusion at all.
Thank you. Everything's standard on the D1, okay? Greg, you just need to have the orders of conditions recorded, the Mass DEP sign posted, and get a Concom telecon with me, and you can get rolling on this property, all right? So I don't need to meet you in the field. We can do it over the phone. That's that. During the construction of the proposed work, ensure best management practices, current building codes, and the final approved plans. That's going to reference your structural plan, Greg, okay? And Terry, are followed. During that period of time, when the construction is underway, provide the revised natural heritage CMP to the conservation administrator. During the construction, incorporate stormwater controls, including conducting roof runoff into subgrade pervious wells, pervious ground surfaces and patios within the 100-foot setback, and control water discharge funnel through pipes or sheeting for the retaining wall with maximum heights of 6 to 8 feet. During the construction, ground surfaces are to be covered with jute netting or quick setting seed-free of pesticide, fertilizer, fungicides, and herbicides to reduce erosion in a buffer zone down gradient. Use of native herbaceous woody shrubs and saplings is permitted within the buffer zone as depicted on the final approved plans in A, general information, item 8. That's your sheet 2. You're already showing this stuff, okay? Ensure the footprint of the undeveloped surface remains open and use pervious coverage only. Post-construction, ongoing conditions. Ensure the footprint of the undeveloped surface remains open and use pervious coverage only. This remains in perpetuity. Post and maintain the 5 conservation markers you're already offering them with the red and white, no disturbance. The conservation markers and posts are to be in the field and detailed as per special condition K within the subdivision order of conditions SE 42265 are to remain in perpetuity. Damaged or decayed conservation posts and markers shall be replaced. Mowing and vegetative management is prohibited beyond the conservation markers. This condition remains in perpetuity. Post condition, ongoing conditions. Plant native plant species detailed in the final approved site plan, reference in A, general information, item 8, your sheet 2. The planting season, the first planting season after the house and retaining wall construction is complete. Provide a mitigation planning plan prepared by a qualified wetland scientist, including plant species, quantity sizes, location, special requirements such as important soils and conservation administrator that will satisfy the commission requirements, ensuring adequate density and integrity of native plantings and 75% successive growth within 2 growing seasons as per 310 CMR 10.24 and 10.53. An implementation planning plan shall be followed by 2 annual monitoring reports prepared and submitted by a qualified wetland scientist. Let me just read that. Okay. There should be no use of dispersal of chemicals, pesticides, herbicides, fungicides, and fertilizers within the buffer zone. This condition remains in perpetuity. Conclusion of the work, remove all erosion control. That's it. Any questions, Greg or Terry?
None.
No, none.
Terry, you good? I'm Greg, you good? Okay, we're
Yes.
moving forward. We're getting you.
Okay, I'm moving to a vote. Craig?
Craig Hannafin, yes.
Susan?
Susan Karen, yes.
Jim?
Joe Klein, yes.
Joe? Joe?
Joe?
Joe, yes, sorry.
And Bert?
Bert O'Donnell, yes.
Rick?
Rick Carberry, yes.
And Art's a yes, 700.
Now, that was a beautiful meeting, guys. Thank you very much, Greg and Terry.
Thank you.
For so well and cooperating. Wonderfully done.
There you go. And we're
Thank you so much.
you're very welcome. We're back again. So we have now 2895 Spectrum Home 16, 18, 20, 22, lots 10 to 13. Adelaide Way. And the hearing officer is Arthur.
Earl. Okay, so I'd like to do it the same way. Bill, if you could summarize when you come back.
One thing I want to just put in there is those concrete markers for the CMP posts. Those are actually all set. All 20 concrete markers are set. It's not just the bean poles. The actual monuments have all been set as of 10 days ago. So we're not waiting on anything physically out there. The guys
Very-
did get those done.
Very good, Terry. Thank you.
Thanks for that update, Terry. Terry, keep it
Okay,
all.
Bill,
Yeah.
run with it.
Okay, so here we go again. So this particular lots, everything I just said is the same, okay? This was a little more confusing. There was, because of the fact that we need to address a couple of other items. So what I just told you stands, okay? Now we're gonna build on that. We have some old orders of condition, special conditions under the subdivision order conditions that need to be addressed. And this would probably be one of the places we could deal with that. So let me bear into that a little bit. We have questions about remaining special conditions E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, R, and S. Some of those are almost complete. One of them includes the pathway, which is done. Another one includes the wetland line, which I need to walk out and just finish. Greg's giving me the green light to get out there. So a couple of them are long-term planting items, et cetera. And so in order to deal with these, I thought it might be best to attach them to this, because I know the commissioners are concerned, or look at the possibility of a bond. I talked back and forth with Art. I talked briefly to Greg, and I talked, Greg Gibbs that is, and then briefly to Terry about this concept of, you know, incorporating and linking to special conditions that might need to be addressed, or dealing with a bond maybe. We just don't have our own bond, and we want to make sure this goes. So in talking with Art, I need my spreadsheet. I don't know what I've done with it. I have a spreadsheet somewhere with all my detail. Oh, I'm at a loss right now. So I had broken these out to look at this, and basically in the D1 pre-commencement of this work here, we have prepare a mitigation planting plan. This is what I would suggest be laid out on the D1s. Prepare and submit a mitigation planting plan prepared by a qualified wetland scientist, including plant species, et cetera, and submit to the conservation administrator. It would emulate the Lot 9 approved site plan. So I want to read this to you. Prepare and submit a mitigation planting plan prepared by a qualified wetland scientist, including plant species, quantity, size, location, spectral requirement as imported soils, to the conservation administrator that will satisfy commission requirements, ensuring adequate density and integrity of native plantings and 75% success of growth within 2 growing seasons as per 310 CMR 10.24 and 10.53 that emulates. Is it Aflac Duck or something? Okay. It emulates the Lot 9 approved site plan, specifically sheet 2 of 2, planning plan referenced in SE 42-2893, order of conditions A, general information, item 8. Submit the mitigation planning plan to the conservation administrator. So that would be a new item that would need to get added to a plan before you start. Provide a $40,000 cash bond as surety that the remaining special conditions under SE 42-2650 will be incorporated within 12 months of the last home construction within the subdivision, or the funds will be forfeited. This comes from, we had a property at 485 Pleasant, which is Borkland, now Snow, that we, without much trouble at all, we had a $10,000 bond for that property. So you have 4 lots over there, 10,000 times 4 is 40. That's where they came from. I'm not saying it's the way it's going to go. I'm just saying that's the formula I discussed briefly with the hearing officer. Special condition M under the subdivision requires separate notice of intent filings. So that would be lifted on lots 10, 11, 12, and 13 if that $40,000 bond is provided, or if the following schedule of special conditions are completed in this sequence. D1, we'd be looking at F, G, H, and R. D2, you'd be looking at special condition E. D3, look at special conditions I, J, L, and S. And I don't have my cheat sheet in front of me, but I know it was right. It was, that was the order. During the construction, you would plant the native species detailed in the final approved site plan and A, general elevation, item 8. That's the plants that would emulate Lot 9, Greg and Terry. which we don't have right now. You'd provide a mitigation planning plan prepared by a qualified wetland scientist, including plant species, planting size, location requirements such as imported soils, and conservation administrator that will satisfy the commission requirements, ensuring adequate density and integrity of native plantings and 75% suggested growth as per 310 CMR 10.24 and 10.53, and implementation planning plan followed by 2 annual monitoring reports submitted by a qualified wetlands scientist is required. Provide the revised natural heritage endangered species conservation management plan to the conservation administrator. Incorporate the stormwater controls. We talked about that before. Ground surfaces are to be covered with jute netting. Ensure the footprint of the undeveloped surface remains open and use pervious coverage only. During the post-construction, you would ensure that the footprint remains open, that this remains in perpetuity. Okay. Post and maintain a new number of conservation markers if they don't overlap with a special condition K, which is the markers for SC 422650. Conservation markers in the post in the field that detailed should be as detailed as special condition K within the subdivision order of conditions that remain in perpetuity. Damaged or decayed conservation posts and markers shall be replaced. Mowing and vegetative management is prohibited beyond the conservation markers. This condition remains in perpetuity. There should be no use or dispersal of chemicals, pesticides, herbicides, fungicides, and fertilizers within the buffer zone. Any lots within the work, including lots 10, 11, 12, and 13. This condition remains in perpetuity. At the conclusion of the work, remove the erosion control. All right. So that was the formula that we had discussed, and that is what's presented to the commission.
So I'd like to, I want to talk to commissioners in a second, but if Terry and Greg don't have any comments on this, I'd like to open it up to the other commissioners.
I have a comment, a couple, I guess. Terry can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe the initial plans that were submitted, the planting plan for the rain garden areas and the conservation plants that we're supposed to do, I believe were prepared by Mark Cooperman, who is the qualified botanist. And again, Terry can correct me if I'm wrong on that. We have not planted any of them, so obviously I still have to do the work. The bond money, I just had a question regarding that. I'm also, since those plantings are already required as part of the subdivision plan, I have to put up bond money with planning. So by putting up bond with planning and bond with commission, I'm basically doubling a bond for, for these plantings. I would love to see it if it was all possible. I'm not against tying the condition to the properties, but if there's any way to do it as during construction of the lot instead of a bond, that would be much appreciated.
Okay, so Greg, just to get that clear, you would prefer to have the linking done than have the bond done, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay.
And I believe I just wasn't sure about the markers comment. All of the 50-foot markers have been installed throughout the entire subdivision. So okay. I realize if they get knocked over, I have to replace them, but
okay. It's just repetitive for that reason. It's meant to ensure that we don't have them, up, today, gone by the wind, and then they stay down. So yeah. It's just repetitive for a reason.
Okay. That was all my comments, unless Terry had anything.
No, I agree with Greg that the replicate the planting plan down along the rain gardens and the toe of the slope was all part of the subdivision submittal that was prepared by Mark Cooperman. You could potentially move them a little bit and maybe get them onto those slopes just below the wall. Maybe just disperse them a little bit differently. And like Greg, I was a little bit confused by the marker statement. It sounded like we were going to have another case of double, triple markers out there, but they're up. There's a couple of them leaning. They probably need to be straightened out, but they are in. And obviously that's something that would be inspected at time of any certificate of compliance issued as well. So you have an opportunity to revisit too.
Bill?
Duly noted. I was deliberately repetitive there, just so that we didn't get into that confusion either. So they're supposed to be on the 50 as a subdivision. Let's not get fancy and let's just stick with that. That's the ultimate goal.
And your comments, Bill, on the trade-off regarding the bond?
Yeah, I'm okay if he is okay with conditioning, as I laid it out, the special conditions, okay? There was a couple on D1, a couple on D, just only one on D2, and most of them came on D3. So it burdens down this subdivision. These 4 properties will now have the subdivision on them and this order of condition, but they'll be liberated from individual NOIs, okay? So instead of having 3 orders of conditions on them, they'll have 2 that are loaded with all consistency. So there's no question about it. Now, these new owners, if something happens, will own the problem and they'll have to deal with it.
Right. So we're fine then on the bond issue here. So let me, I think we're there. Let's just ask other commissioners. This has been a long process. Any other commissioners have any questions, any concerns?
Commissioner Arthur?
Yes.
I am fine with linking it as was proposed.
Okay.
And as outlined by Bill.
Okay, very good. Then I'm going to make a motion that we close and issue the orders and conditions with the special conditions. We're not going to go through them again. Bill went through them. And I'm going to ask for a second.
Did you get public comment, Art?
Oh, sorry. Thank you very much. Yes, anyone from the public? You see, Rick, I'm ready to get out to the swimming pool. That's the problem. No one, I'll be back on Monday. No one from the public. I didn't hear anyone. And second.
Come on.
Joe Ringel, second.
Outstanding.
Thank you, Joe. Okay, take a vote and we'll start with Craig.
Craig Hannafin, yes.
And Susan?
Susan Karen, yes.
Joe?
Joe Ring, yes.
And Chairman Jim?
Jim Kilcoyne, yes.
Yes, and Rick?
Rick Carberry, yes.
And Vice Chair Burt?
Bert O'Donnell, yes.
And Art's a yes, so it's a 7-0-0. Very good.
Okay,
Thank you
thank you
guys.
very much.
All right. It was quite the process, Mr. Gibbs.
It's been a long one,
wasn't it?
All right, good night, everybody.
All
Good night.
right, good night. Thank you.
Good night.
Take care, guys. All right, I'm going to move on now to this to the section of continued hearings. We're going to move rapidly through these if we may. So I would like to, regarding Prince 41, I would like to vote to continue to 4/6/2020 public meeting as per the applicant's representative's written request. And look for a second.
Second.
Billy, capture that?
Craig.
Fine. Commissioner Craig.
Craig Hannafin, yes.
Commissioner Susan.
Susan Karen, yes.
Commissioner Joe.
Joe Ring, yes.
Commissioner Rick.
Carberry, yes.
Commissioner Arthur.
Art Loggy, yes.
Vice Chair Burt.
Bert O'Donnell, yes.
Jim Kilcoyne is yes. 5257 Oak Street, SE 422908. Vote to continue to 4/6 public meeting as per the applicant's representative's request for 3/2/2021 public meeting. I look for a second.
Second, Art Loggy.
Got it, Bill?
Art Loggy is the second on Weymouth, yeah.
Commissioner Craig.
Craig Hannafin, yes.
Commissioner Susan.
Susan Karen, yes.
Commissioner Joe.
Joe Ring, yes.
Commissioner Rick.
Rick Carberry, yes.
Commissioner Arthur.
Art Loggy, yes.
Vice Chair Burt.
Bert O'Donnell, yes.
Jim Kilcoyne, yes. Ridge Road, 300, SE 422820. Revisions, the vote to continue to 4/6 public meeting as per the applicant representative request on 3/2/2021 MAC meeting. Looking for a second.
Joe Ring.
Commissioner Craig.
Craig Hannafin, yes.
Commissioner Susan.
Susan Karen, yes.
Commissioner Joe.
Joe Ring, yes.
Commissioner Rick,
Rick Carber, yes.
Commissioner Arthur,
Art Loggy, yes.
Commissioner Vice Chair Burt,
Bert O'Donnell, yes.
Jim Kilcoyne is a yes. 0 Brewster Road, SE 422887, vote to continue to 4-6 public meeting as per the applicant's representative request on 3-2 at the public meeting. Looking for a second.
Craig Hannafin, second.
Commissioner Craig,
Craig Hannafin, yes.
Commissioner Susan,
Susan Karen, yes.
Commissioner Joe,
Joe Ring, yes.
Commissioner Rick,
Rick Carber, yes.
Commissioner Arthur,
Art Loggy, yes.
Vice Chair Burt,
Bert O'Donnell, yes.
Jim Kilcoyne, yes. South River Street, SE 422905, vote to continue to 4-6 public meeting per the applicant representative's written request. Looking for a second.
Come on,
Joe,
Art Loggy, second.
Joe.
Vice,
He was there first. Come on.
getting tongue tied here. Commissioner Craig,
Craig Hannafin, yes.
Commissioner Susan,
Susan Karen, yes.
Commissioner Joe,
Joe, yes.
Commissioner Ring,
Rick Carber, yes.
Commissioner Arthur,
Loggy, yes.
Vice Chair
Bert O'Donnell, yes.
Kilcoyne's a yes. Okay, and remember, we did continue the Green Harbor previously with a ratified vote.
Right, which I have to look up. Somebody remembers.
Correct.
I didn't catch it.
That's okay. It happens every once in a while.
Eric, time you got to help me on that.
I got you next time.
We're now moving on to the end of the meeting.
Yay.
Okay. This is for certificate of compliance and extensions. What we have here is certificate of compliance for SE 421579 Lynch. I think everybody has read all the pertinent information. If I would like to make a motion to table until the additional information is received, unless I hear otherwise. Okay, I will make a motion that we vote the table until additional information is received. I'm looking for a second.
Second, Rick Carber.
Commissioner Craig,
Craig Hannafin, yes.
Commissioner Susan,
Susan Karen, yes.
Commissioner Joe,
Joe, yes.
Commissioner Rick,
Rick Carber, yes.
Commissioner Arthur,
Art Loggy, yes.
Vice Chair Burt,
Bert O'Donnell, yes.
Jim Kilcoyne is a yes. Okay, now we move on to SE 422687 Kelly Zero Main. This is an interesting extension. I am sure you've all read the information on it. I'm just going to take a quick poll. We really have just a couple options in front of us. There is a third, but one of the options is to vote to table until the recorded orders are presented to the commission. All right, so we're going to table. Excuse me, Mr. Grafton.
I wrote this, and then subsequent to the writing, they brought them in. So I've got the recorded orders, and I apologize for not making the changes, but I couldn't get to it. So we do have the recorded orders. They arrived after the expiration date, which was the 2nd of March. There's a weird situation due to the governor's emergency declaration where things are extended. I don't think that applies to the original orders. They should have recorded them.
Right, so my understanding is the original orders need to be recorded and they need to apply for their extension prior to the deadline. Is that correct?
That's what I read on it. And I think that email I sent you from the circuit rider says the same thing. Let them figure it out, you know?
Right. So what we had was a request for an extension on time, but we did not have the recorded orders. And the circuit rider said you need to have the extension be valid. You have to have the recorded orders. Did I misinterpret his?
That's my read on what he said. Yeah, and it also that orders have to be recorded before they expire. So that's different than the expiration date. If they had recorded before they expire, they might have picked up the benefit of the governor's 45 days after the abatement of the emergency declaration. I don't know. So they missed it, looked like to me. So I think we put it back to them in a clear way. But you could probably just deny on the 2-year now because it came in afterwards, and they could say, no, we have new information, and they're back to us again. They did they did apply 30 days in advance. So the commission has the discretionary authority to consider this ongoing until they fully resolve it. But it sounds like they fumbled.
Right, and we got written information from the DEP circuit rider regarding that, correct?
That's my read on it, Jim.
Right,
Yeah.
they had 3 years to do this, correct?
Yeah.
And they missed the date?
The expiration date was 3/12/2021.
Right, and so the denial would be based upon the fact that they did not provide their recording prior to the expiration date, correct?
Right, they did not record prior to the expiration date of the original.
And you have to record prior to the expiration date, or you can't have an extension, correct, by the circuit
That's
rider?
our interpretation of the answer. I think
That
that's
was
the
my
answer.
interpretation of circuit rider too, just for everyone. I'm sure everyone's probably on that same page. So everyone understands where we are. We got an interpretation from the DEP circuit rider on the extension. They filed for the extension on time, but you can't file for an extension unless you record. They had not recorded on time. Thus, even though they applied for the extension prior to the extension deadline, they didn't record in time. It was a short window after the deadline, but it was after the deadline. So that would be the reason for our vote to deny the 2-year extension. The applicant always can take appeal to this should they like. So I would like to make a motion that we deny the extension with the justification provided, and unless more conversation, discussion, or objection.
They had 3 years to record the orders, right? I mean,
Yes, they had 3 years to record the orders.
seems like that should have been plenty of time.
Yeah, it's the first one we've ever had this, so it's something that people usually don't miss. And the reason why people don't miss it is because you get denied. Yeah. So I would like to make a motion that we deny the extension with the justification or with the discussion we just provided. Looking for a second.
Joe Ring, second.
Okay, Joe Ring.
Joe Ring, and we'll do a roll call vote. Commissioner Craig.
Craig Hannafin, yes.
Commissioner Susan.
Susan Karen, yes.
Mr. Joe.
Joe, yes.
Mr. Rick.
Rick Carberry, yes.
Mr. Arthur.
Art Loggy, yes.
Vice Chair Burt.
Earl Donald, yes.
Jim Kilcoyne, yes. And so, with much sadness, I must say, that does conclude the 3-hour Conservation Commission meeting of, was it March 16th? Tomorrow, St. Patrick's Day. Everyone enjoy. And I would like to officially make a motion to close the meeting and look for a second.
Craig
Art
Hannafin,
Loggy,
second.
I'll jump in at once.
That one out. Art gets that one. Sorry, whoever got
Gotta give it to Arthur. Roll call vote, Commissioner Craig.
Craig Hannafin, yes.
Commissioner Susan.
Susan Karen, yes.
Mr. Joe.
Oh, yes.
Commissioner Rick.
Yeah, Rick Carberry, yes.
That was
Think about that. How
Think
you want to
about
stay
it, huh?
together? We can stay together a while longer. Commissioner Arthur.
Art Loggy, yes, and I'm sorry about the lighting.
You still look.
reflection of the pool soaking up all the light. That's why.
Vice Chair Burt.
Earl Donald, yes. And we'll
Jim
see you all
Kilcoyne is a
Thursday.
yes. So
Everybody, yes.
the meeting is officially closed. Great job, team.
Good night,
Night.
everyone.
Good night, everyone.
Good night, everybody.